minus 5 minutes. Minus 4 minutes. Minus 3 minutes. Minus 2 minutes.
Yeah. Every click, every move, yeah, they're watching the feed, showing ads for the things that you don't really need. They want all the data, they want your ID, but I've got some news that just won't work for me. So I encrypt the connection and cover my tracks. We get to the truth and we stick to the facts. We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak, what you wanna share is only
Minus 1 minute.
Look, the world is exposed, yeah, the walls are thin. Everybody posting every place that they've been. Trading privacy for likes, that's a heavy cost. In the ocean of data, the person gets lost. So we flip the switch, yeah, we go underground. Moving through the silence without making a sound. Not hiding because you are doing something wrong. Just defending your rights before they are gone. The room is secure, so let the session start. Speak from the brain or speak from the heart. Tell us the story, we unlock the doors. We invite the guests,
Minus 30 seconds.
you can keep the mask on, keep it low key. Privacy is priceless, but opinions are free. We amplify the voices that they try to call weak. Welcome to the stream, time to hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, it is our choice.
10, 9,
Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean
7,
having a voice.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hide and speak.
Hello, everybody. We're Hide and Speak. We stream every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Our topics are privacy, free speech, and internet freedom. This is the crew and cast behind vp.net community. We have a special guest today. We're going to have some Q&A throughout the session here. If anybody would like to ask a question at any time, you just type capital Q, colon, and then ask your question there, and we can put that up on screen. What not to expect from us: no religion, no partisan politics, left, right, it's all the same. And the opinions expressed by members of our panel are of their own personal opinions and do not necessarily reflect the views of Hide and Speak or vp.net, except for when we say Epstein didn't kill himself. So I want to be the first one to get that in there. My name is Shane. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with vp.net. And Chris, how you doing today?
I am doing fabulously well today, and I'm very excited for this guest today. I think we're going to have a really, really fun conversation. And I just want to give a shout out to Meta, who banned us for saying that we were going to do the stream today. So thanks, Zuckerberg.
Middle finger to you, Zuckerberg. I mean that. I really do. Nathan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Really excited that Hide and Speak is back after our short hiatus, and just excited to have Sean on, and or I guess I should say creative media specialist for vp.net, but excited for this one.
Absolutely excited too. I know we've all been kind of working really hard behind the scenes, and we have some stuff to talk about today. Some really cool things to offer out there to the world. Lovely Susie, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys today? I can't wait to get into this. And Epstein did not kill himself.
Absolutely didn't kill himself. I am razzling and dazzling. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guests here. This week, we are joined by Sean, the founder of The People's Voice, the most controversial independent news site on the internet. Sean, thank you for joining Hide and Speak today. How are you?
My pleasure. Absolutely. My pleasure. I don't usually do these, so this is a first for me, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Absolutely looking forward to it as well. Well, let's see. I just want to go ahead and show vp.net some love. We want to take a minute to thank vp.net for supporting Hide and Speak and giving us a platform to connect with all of you and give you a voice. A lot of people think this is our job, but it's not. If it was, we wouldn't be doing it on nights and weekends. This is something we all wanted to do because privacy is really important to us. And vp.net is helping to make it possible, and we are really grateful for that. So if you want to show your support for Hide and Speak and help keep this show alive, the best way to do so is by signing up for vp.net, which comes with the added benefit of being the only verifiable zero trust VPN in the world. I believe Chris has a short video queued up that explains that in more detail.
vp.net, the only VPN that can't spy on you. Your browsing data says more about you than you think. From marketing companies to hackers, everyone wants it because it's worth everything. And they'll stop at nothing to spy on you. Your searches and the sites you visit, that's enough to paint a picture. Most VPNs claim to protect your privacy, but here's the problem. You can't actually verify what they're doing behind the scenes. That's where vp.net is different. We're the only VPN built with Intel's SGX technology, the same trusted security used in banking, healthcare, and even the automotive industry. Here's the key. vp.net runs inside a secure black box, a protected environment so locked down that even we can't see inside it. That means no one, not even vp.net itself, can spy on your activity when you connect. You can verify in real time that your VPN is doing exactly what it promises, protecting you and nothing else. vp.net means no hidden tracking, no broken promises, just real provable privacy. vp.net, the only VPN you don't have to trust, because you can verify.
Absolutely. And you can verify it, and that's the best thing about it. You don't have to trust a thing. What do you got for me today, Chris?
Well, I've just got a few things that I want to mention, because a lot of times in cases like this, people really get caught up on the specific content that somebody might make, or whether or not it offends somebody and things like that. And it's really important to understand that that's the type of content that protects our rights every day. Like, it's not like, grandma's cookbook that's preserving our right to speech. I mean, it's not some historical book about, the development of veganism that's going to protect our right to free speech. It's the content that does offend people. It's the content that does make people question it and whether or not it should be allowed. So I just had a few cases that I wanted to bring up that I think are important. Hustler magazine versus Falwell in 1988. Hustler posted a parody ad claiming that Reverend Jerry Falwell, a prominent moral leader, had a drunken incestuous relationship with his mother in an outhouse. Falwell sued for libel and intentional infliction of emotional distress, but the Supreme Court ruled unanimously in favor of Hustler magazine and its owner, Larry Flint. The case is the bedrock of political satire, paved the way for political cartoonists and late-night hosts. The fact that society may find speech offensive is not a sufficient reason for suppressing it, was what Justice William Rehnquist said in that case. Another one is Snyder versus Phelps. The Westboro Baptist Church picketed the funeral of Matthew Snyder, a U.S. Marine, with signs saying, "Thank God for dead soldiers" and "Fag Marine." Snyder's father sued for emotional distress. In an 8-1 decision, the court ruled that the church's speech, while vicious and hurtful, was protected because it addressed matters of public concern, such as war in the military, and it took place on public land. This case reaffirmed that speech cannot be restricted simply because it's repugnant. If the government could ban speech because it was mean or hurtful, it would have the power to shut down almost any controversial protest. And another important case, probably one of the most important, was Brandenburg versus Ohio in 1969, which is a leader of the Ku Klux Klan who was filmed at a rally making racist speeches and suggesting vengeance against the government. He was convicted under an Ohio law that banned advocating for violence. The court overturned the conviction, establishing the imminent lawless action test. It ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless it's directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. This is one of the strongest speech protections in the world. It means you can advocate for revolution, radicalism, or offensive ideologies, and the state cannot touch you unless you are literally starting a riot in that actual moment. So when you hear politicians calling for hate speech law or a ban on fake news, remember that your right to free speech was largely protected by the actions of a porn dealer, a KKK dealer, and a church with all of the sensibilities of 4chan. The reason they attack sites that post content that people find offensive is because they're searching for the weak point in our armor. They want to trigger an emotional response that gives them the support they need to implement laws that will undermine our freedom of speech. Saying that you support free speech but not hate speech is like saying you believe in physics but not gravity.
And that's the thing too. Gravity really holds us down to earth. And sometimes I just want to launch right off of it, especially when I see things like the new age stuff, like what is it, Hillsboro Baptist Church? They got that hate speech, and it disgusts me and everything. But that's the thing, is it's free speech is protected. And here on Hide and Speak, it is free speech and protected. And if anybody wants to join in on us, feel free. You don't have to show your face. You don't even have to use your name. I think having a voice is a perfect thing here.
I just want to
go ahead.
Jump in quickly. They'll always pick the most unpopular opinion or the most controversial take at any given moment in order to try and attack free speech. And so people have to be really aware that when somebody is being demonized, you don't have to agree with them, and you don't have to even like them. But if they're trying to take away some kind of right or freedom, that's because they're coming after your freedoms and your rights as well.
Absolutely. And they have so many ways of doing that too, right? Like you have the court of public opinion. So like if they can't do anything at the law level, they can all just cancel you or just ruin your life with holding pitchforks outside your house and everything. So it's a slippery slope with all of this. It's one of those things that there's freedom of speech, but not freedom of consequence. But we live in a world where there's consequence for everything. So it's that saying holds true, but it doesn't have that much weight, in my opinion. Free speech is free speech, and I can just see this and it's one of those things that you can feel it happening in the background. They're transitioning us away from having this free speech. And when I saw this yesterday, that we're banned from Threads now or something, this is insane, because this is number 2 where our free speech is suppressed, and we're not the bad guys. We're not talking about anything too crazy and controversial out here, other than Epstein didn't kill himself. But they removed us from Truth Social too. They just straight up deleted our account. They just straight up deleted.
They didn't tell us why. Just gone.
Yeah.
So you guys were removed from Truth Social as well? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then no warning, no message, just gone one day.
Well, I know that Mark. Sorry, go on. I know that Mark Zuckerberg really, really dislikes everything that we've ever done, because we'll get into all of that about what happened on Facebook with Snopes. So probably the mere mention of the People's Voice or my name probably got you guys banned on Threads, I'm going to guess.
Seems that way. Banned by association.
Just banned
I
by
just feel like
association.
if you're getting banned from Truth Social and Threads, which are basically the polar opposites of each other, then you might be right over the middle, exactly where you need to be. So maybe that's a good sign.
Screw
Yeah,
'em.
and it's
Absolutely.
like isn't like Rumble's like the right wing YouTube and everything, and then True Social's supposed to be like the MAGA crowd and all that. Like, I feel like we say some of the same things and stuff that those, I've seen a lot of crazy shit actually. Use my language, but I feel like there would be no reason to like remove us. Like we're kind of fitting in there. All right, well,
Here's what I look at. Look at Flat Earth. There's content about Flat Earth all over the internet. There's like a never-ending sea of Flat Earth content. They're not taking that down. They're not trying to pull those websites down. They're not banning those people from accounts. Why? Because they know that that's obviously bullshit, so they just don't care. When they start banning people for something and trying to censor something, that's because it means something. That's because you're getting somewhere. That's because they really don't want people to hear that. You know what I mean? So like, as long as you are out there and you can see this Flat Earth and all kinds of other ridiculous content of Bigfoot, aliens, you can go for hours and look at all this insane stuff, and it never ends. And they leave that. They have no problem with that. But they have a major problem with.
They have like a confine of what you can stay inside of, and it's like aliens,
You went outside
UFOs. But the minute you go outside of the line, or you do anything that's true or too close to home, you're going to be deplatformed, shadow banned, demonetized. They're going to attack you until you're gone.
Yes, exactly.
So anybody, I found myself drawn to the topics that they are censoring or that they're deleting off the internet, because usually in those topics, that's where the truth is.
What's scariest is the people with the high power and high influence. Like, I mean, for God's sakes, they banned porn video games from Steam, and then got the credit card processors to start banning websites that sold porn. And they got they pushed for this ID law in pretty much every country all at the same time. And it's just some Australian, or it was started in Australia to my knowledge, and it was just some little Christian group that had a lot of pull and sway. So it's if they want to deplatform you, they can deplatform you. All that is a phone call to some of these people. There's people out there with power. And that's the thing is once you lose your voice, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go speak up about it. You just lost your voice, and they know that too. You can't. They put you in a situation in which you can't do anything, and you really have to rely on the support, from your viewers and followers, and the people that are in your circles. Because once they take away your voice, that's that.
And if those people can't find you, if you're off all of the platforms, and there've been lots of people in the past that have been deplatformed on every single major platform, even if you have a loyal audience and they're actively seeking you out, if they can't find you because none of the social media platforms will have you, apart from maybe some of the really obscure ones, then you're invisible to them too. So it's a real injustice. But
it really is. And we were talking about the flat earth thing with this. They can put misinformation out there, and this is completely opposite of what we're just talking about. But putting information out there. So I work in information security day in and day out. So I look at data analytics, things like this. All it takes is like monitoring all of social media, and they have the tools to do this. Put some misinformation out there, and there's monitor the chatter across the web and stuff to see what kind of effective stuff happens. And the one big truth that it's like you learn to grasp, or I have anyways, is that the truth is the lies and bullshit take it's instant across the internet, across the world for that news to get out there. But the actual truth seems like it only travels in like a mile radius and doesn't reach its furthest audience. And that's so sad, because that's just it highlights the bullshit, and gets rid of the truth, and the ones speaking the truth end up getting silenced by the bullshit. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I hope it does one day. Let's go ahead and start here. We have our main guest, Sean. We'll go ahead and put this. Can we put this up on the screen? Part 1, the origin and the transition. Sean, you started at BBC and MTV, the heart of the legacy media machine. What was the red pill moment that made you realize you couldn't do the journalism you wanted to do there?
I think it was a series of moments rather than one red pill moment. I worked at the BBC, MTV, and various mainstream broadcasters here in the UK since the late 90s up until the mid 2000s, I guess. And what I saw, especially in the 2000s, was this narrative that was constantly being suppressed. It was just built into the job, and it was systemic across all of the institutions, the BBC, Channel 4, MTV, all of them. Anything that went against the mainstream narrative, and there was always a defined mainstream narrative at the time, whether you were on the left or the right, anything that went against that was completely and utterly hidden from the public. Even if there was compelling evidence or compelling information, they would find every single way to suppress that. So I started, when the internet started getting more and more popular in the late 90s, early 2000s, as I was working there, I myself started getting into what you would call conspiracy theories and started doing my own research, reading books, looking at videos. And I just realized that, yeah, there's some crazy, maybe bullshit out there, but there's loads of interesting things there too. That seems to be quite compelling and has lots of information and evidence to back it up, that at least needs to be shown to the public and researched and examined more. And I could see that the mainstream media were not doing the job. They were not doing that. So when I was at the BBC, I remember working on a pilot at the time, which was all about conspiracy theories. And I told one of the executives there that, you know, I wanted to take the lead on this, and I wanted to go and interview a man called David Icke. And they were all for that, but they said to me that if I was going to do that, I had to do a kind of gotcha type interview where I would interview him, but make him look like a fool. But don't tell him that. Like, tell him that we're on his side and we want to explore his theories, but then do a kind of gotcha moment and just make him look like a complete idiot, edit it a certain way so it's just funny. And I just thought that was very, very, very unfair and manipulative. And it just kind of confirmed what I'd been suspecting all along, that the mainstream media was really suppressing all of these hidden narratives, and they were just basically supporting the power structures. And I didn't like that. So I decided in the mid 2000s that I would get all of the knowledge I'd gained from being a producer and all the expertise I had and my passion and enthusiasm for independent media or conspiracy theories, and the growing internet at the time, the growing culture of the internet, and how that was becoming more and more popular. And I could see that that was going to eventually take over from traditional television. I decided to shift over and work in that field. So there wasn't like one red pill moment, but it's a series of moments that just opened my eyes to how corrupt and manipulative the mainstream media really was, and how this conspiracy world was kind of hidden in the dark corners of the internet. It was laughed about. The mainstream media mocked it and suppressed it. And I thought, well, there needs to be somebody, at least somebody, me, needs to go in there and use the knowledge I have and give it the resources I've got to try and bring this to a bigger audience. So that was the start of my journey in bringing the people's voice to life.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm absolutely happy that you brought the people's voice to life. You know, and that's, you know, with independent journalism, I've been in executive meetings. I've heard all sides of the coins, you know, with people making decisions and, you know, the people following what's viral, and then just blatantly, you know, I could shout from the rooftops like what we need to do. And it seemed like, you know, other things and other people had different ideas on what we need to do. And yeah, I like that you said it's when they're supporting the power structures, you know, I think that's one of the biggest concerns that I have right now, especially with media, is, you know, they defunded NPR. You know, these are the things that if they don't like you, they shut you down. And if you're dependent on this for your livelihood, or for others dependent on for their livelihood, how many millions of people out there enjoy writing, enjoy journalism? And you know, it's not just, and it's just you that you're able to, you know, claw through this, and how many other people are out there too seeking the truth. And it's just a big thing. And I love this question here. This next one. You spent a significant amount of time working closely with David Icke. For those who only know him through the lens of a Wikipedia hit piece, What is the side of David's work or his personality that the public never gets to see?
So wow, that's a big topic in and of itself. I could do a series of podcasts about that. So I've got a complicated relationship with him, but I'd say first and foremost, his name is Ike, not Ick, but some people would call him a bit icky, but it's David Ike. And
I've been corrected on that many times, and my brain still does that from when I was a
I
kid.
think you're picking up on something intuitively when you say Ick, so you might not be wrong, but so I'm just joking. I think with David Ike, I think back in the early 2000s, what attracted me to his work, because I worked really closely with him for over a decade, or just under a decade, actually. I just thought it was quite brave at the time for somebody to be talking about all of these things. And he talked about a lot of things that I agreed with and a lot of things I didn't necessarily agree with. But I just thought it was very brave of him because he came from a mainstream media world as well as a TV presenter and a sportsman. I thought it was quite brave that he was putting himself out there, putting his reputation on the line to talk about these pretty out there subjects that would see him get laughed at on the street and ridiculed. And I thought, that's somebody who knows some shit because he's standing by it and he's willing to, he's either completely and utterly crazy or he knows some shit and he's willing to put himself out there. And so I just wanted to know more and work alongside him. And I'm glad I did. There's a lot of things that happened along the way, especially towards the end, which I'm not sure we'll be able to get into here, but it's a complicated story and a complicated relationship. But I'm glad I did that because that really opened my eyes to the whole conspiracy independent media world. And I learned a lot. I gained a lot of skills. I helped him put live events on. I created DVDs. I helped him to monetize the whole operation because he was one of these obscure websites in the dark corners of the internet when I found him. He was notorious. He would appear on TV shows and be laughed at, and everybody knew who he was, but he wasn't a success at that stage in terms of reaching people and putting big shows on. He was just notorious. So I came in with my mainstream media hat and decided, well, that needs to change because, you know, I've got some respect for you here, and I think you deserve to have a functioning business that is going to actually reach people. So I learned a lot. I learned how to webmaster, how to do websites, how to put live events on, how to promote things, marketing, all sorts of stuff. So I forgot what the question was, but yeah, that's how I got into working with David Icke.
That pretty much answers all of it. And I just want to go ahead and say, like, I would absolutely love to see a 9-foot Draco lizard walk out. And I just want to see that for my own two eyes. So, you know, tapping into that conspiracy market, like I would, for years, I would say that everybody mentioned these things to me, that's conspiracy BS. And then like 5 years later turned out to be true on like 99% of everything, you know, so I know I'm kind of looking forward to the things less seen. And definitely want to hear the things less spoken about in the world.
Yeah, it's like Joe Rogan's got an amazing quote. He's like, after COVID, I don't think we landed on the moon. I just thought it was so funny.
It's true. I think actually COVID did. I think, you know, you had 9/11 and COVID. There are certain events that happen that actually, I think, wake more people up
for sure.
to these things.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm absolutely convinced that you know, like those conspiracy theories that are out there now, and like I don't want to get too political about these things, but you know, I absolutely feel like that was like a manufactured thing. You know, they pushed that shot on us all like way too quickly. Like, and that's the thing. That's kind of what evil would do, right? They would create the solution and then create the problem, and then offer the solution to everybody and sell it to us all. And I don't know if it's going to modify our DNA and stuff, but it's kind of shady.
Well, apart from the physical effects that the shots have had on the people that took them, which I think is we're still going to see the effects of that as the years unfold. I think it's also a test. I think, you know, that was a test that they're massively into depopulation. They want to cull billions of us because they can't control all of us right now. So they need us dead. They need us gone. And COVID wasn't that. COVID was a test run for something else, and they wanted to see how far could they push us. And I guess the disheartening thing about COVID was that they could push us quite far. They could push a lot of people really far.
Yeah.
We complied with way too much, and they got away with way too much. But I think maybe what they weren't expecting was that a lot of people eventually did wake up out of their coma, out of their sleepwalking, and they realized that they were being lied to, that they were being poisoned, and that they were just being manipulated and controlled by the media. And I think so that dress rehearsal, I think the next time they try something maybe on a bigger scale, which all the indications are that they are going to do that, I hope there'll be much, much bigger pushback.
I really hope there will be much bigger pushback as well. I can see the world awakening, and I think the world has to see all of this for themselves for them to truly believe it. You know, and it comes a point in time when you wake up to these things and then you realize, hey, wait, it's always been like this. They're putting stuff in our food. We're eating garbage. But so why is it far-fetched, you know, that the people that create like stuff like, what was it, the Georgia Guidestones that just got blown up a couple years ago? Like they blatantly talk about, you know, depopulation. They blatantly talk about calling the herd. To them, we're just cattle, right? We're just pawns on a board that can be moved. And there's the two classes. They can, you know, there's the rich class and there's the ones who serve the rich class and stuff. And I think we're seeing that, especially on the tech side of things, and especially with the lizard person. I mean, the great individual human being of Mark Zuckerberg. You know, with this techno feudalism stuff going out there. You know, they're just blatant about they want to run smart cities, and then you know you had Yarvin saying that they should enslave us into a matrix, as if we're not already enslaved into a matrix. But you know, this is like I figured like a new world order type thing would happen, but I just didn't think it would be this goddamn stupid. Honest to God, I didn't think it would be this damn stupid with Mark Zuckerberg in charge and like Elon Musk. And Elon Musk being out there like telling us that it's going to be some hard times for everybody, but you're just going to have to push through it. It's hard times because you assholes made it that way. So it definitely is. In the server industry and stuff, we have what's called the scream test. If you don't know what a server does, unplug it, see who screams, right? And then you can get information based off of that and go from there. You know, and that's the thing is like if maybe they pulled some information like how many of these doofuses are willing to inject this stuff into their body. You know, what's it really going to look like? Can we affect the workforce? And they did. Like people went to remote working, and you know, and then people realized, hey, wait a second, why do I have to drive like from one computer at home to a computer at the office? You know, and then there's more productivity and stuff with people working. So I think on the side of like that, we're all waking up to the facts that wait a second, all this like the agreed upon bullshit for how everything isn't the best it can be. And I think we've seen that in many different aspects. I, for one, would love for everybody to stay absolutely 6 feet away from me. Like, stay away from me. You guys are like, but it's one of those things that, you know, they got every store in the world to you know, put a like little footsteps in places and stores where people could stand so they knew they were 6 feet away. So, you know, this is
it was based on nothing. Like they just made the shit up. There's not like some study that's like, oh, viruses magically die when they're 6 feet away from their host. Like it was literally based on nothing. They're just like, yeah, that makes sense. If you're further away, it probably won't get you. So cool. Now we're gonna tape little arrows on floors everywhere and herd cattle through the store, and you're only one way direction. And it was just the most bizarre shit I've ever seen. And like, nobody said anything. Everybody just said, okay, put their head down and did it. And it was just like, how are we this pathetic? Like, you know what I mean?
Right? I wanted the same thing. I wanted the same thing.
I just really wanted people to stay the hell away from me. So I just went along with whatever the hell was going on.
Yeah, it kind of worked out in our favor, right? Like we don't have to drive to the office.
That's the thing.
Even.
Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of the restrictions that were imposed actually were quite comfortable for many people. But I also think that the people in charge, the people that were imposing this on us, and now obviously the technocrats who are trying to create this AI dystopian future for all of us. They're all the same thing. Like back in the past, it would have been the royal families who were in charge of everything, and they would impose their tyranny on the people. And if they wanted to be entertained or wanted to see, You do a little dance in front of them, they'll just say, you know, dance, peasant, dance, and you dance in front of them will have your head cut off. And now it's the same thing, really. It's the technocrats in charge, and they're saying keep yourself 6 feet apart. No reason. We just want to see you dance. We just want to see you do what we tell you. We want to see how willing you are just to do whatever you're told, no matter how crazy and illogical it is, because we want to make sure that we've got full control over you. It's the same thing.
Kiss the ring.
And it is really sad to see. And then I really do wonder, like you said, Chris, like you know, is it really that we're this pathetic? And you can see them with these No Kings riots out there. Like I said, it's whatever people's political beliefs are. That's cool. You know, I'm happy that people are allowed to have these. But, you know, it's like, wait a second, you know, with all the bullshit that's going on, like we're being pushed to the brink, and not just here in the United States, over in the UK, you know, Russia, I'm sure. I mean, they're always going to be Russia, but this is a bad example. But in every country out there, we're seeing like civil wars, riots, you know, the oppression of people. Like they're trying to ban VPNs in countries. And they're setting like it's not just one place or anything anymore. It's like, oh man, the government's doing this. No, it's like this everywhere, right? And these are the people, like, they don't subscribe to governments, like the ones that could put a virus out there, or the techno feudalists that well, I forgot the word for it, but it's a serfdom or something. They want us all on these apps and stuff where they eliminate all the jobs, and then our options are we can go, you know, grab food for people and stuff and serve the rich. And that's like that. That's what they want. They want everybody out there, you know, doing what they want us to do, or us increasing the GDP by putting us all back in factories and stuff. So, you know, when I've heard some really outlandish stuff, you know, I work at a higher level, like, you know, I'm a chief at a tech company. I've heard some really outlandish shit from people. Like there's some people have really, like, I'm like, man, this is like the smartest guy in the world. Then they say some really outlandish shit about how, you know, like AI is going to rule the world and how they support that. And they're like, they're pushing for this type of stuff. I'm like, are you like, there's no way that they're actually like this. And they are. And I think though, you know, with it being as stupid as it is, and it really is that everybody has their idea of how things should be and how they want things to be and how they would solve all the problems. And I think, you know, even though if these people at the top, like Mark Zuckerberg, you know, Elon Musk, and there was just a meeting full of the NVIDIA CEO. You know, they had this vision and idea for things for the world, and they're not bound by governments. They're not bound by you know, legislations. You know, they're the ones making these things for us all because they're in control of all the new technology and the new technology that AI is going to be creating. So they're controlling not only the narrative, but they're controlling our way of life now. Like it's actually affecting us, you know, and especially when it comes to things like oil, you know, they know what they're doing, and they know exactly what cards to play and pull. You know, they have think tanks. I've been in, you know, conference calls where, you know, I've witnessed think tanks, and there's groups of people that's their job. Their job is to sit there and think on how to do these things or what the outcomes can be, you know, and now we're going to have AI to run these simulations for things. But, you know, it's no matter what we talk about, and if we get too close to the truth, they want to take it away and deplatform us. And I've seen that twice with my own two eyes with just us. And we're just a humble little company trying to do right in the world, right? So, you know, it's with the mainstream and what they want it to be versus how it should be are two different things. But I feel like having a voice is something that we can do to make things the right way, especially since people are waking up to all the bullshit out there. Most people only know the mainstream debunked version of Pizzagate. I myself have not looked into Pizzagate too much. It's got like a lot of triggering aspects to it that, you know, and I'm sure that's a lot of people out there too that have trauma and they want to look into these things. And, you know, I was told before by many people is that, you know, when the world wakes up, it's going to be like, you know, when you wake up, it's supposed to be all love and light. It's the greatest thing ever. You wake up to the lovely possibilities of life, but no, there's the actual real shit going on outside every day, right in front of our noses, right in front of our faces, and the elites are paying for this type of stuff. And this is proven. Most people only know the mainstream debunked version of Pizzagate. Without getting into every detail, why do you think that specific story was the one that made the establishment declare war on you?
Wow. Well, the notion that the people in charge, the elites, if you want to call them that, run these pedophile rings and abuse children and do really horrific things to them has been an ongoing. There's been stories for decades and decades, hundreds and hundreds of years. It's a recurring story. It's a recurring theme. It's always suppressed. It's always hidden from the public, but the stories have always been there. And I think with Pizzagate, what that did is that confirmed a lot to the masses, because it was an accessible story that they could go and research and see with their very own eyes themselves. And it wasn't something that was historical. It was something that was current. I'll just give you a quick example. So here in the UK, we had a prime minister called Ted Heath. He was the leader of the country in the 70s. And he abused countless children. I don't want to get too graphic here, but he was a pedophile. He abused children and he killed children as well. At the time, nobody would have known. The public would never have known about that. It was completely hidden from them. And it was only years later, after his death, that these stories came out in the mainstream media and they were confirmed. And it's now established facts that all of that was true. And that's a recurring theme with a lot of these stories of abuses in positions of power. It's true, it's happening, but the public don't find out about it until much later. And that's only the stories that manage to somehow break into the mainstream. And so what Pizzagate was all about was WikiLeaks had released a trove of emails from the DNC. They had a ton of emails that were leaked to them, and they released them all publicly. And we were one of the very first outlets to find out that emails from Hillary Clinton's team, John Podesta, Hillary Clinton and others, senior members of her team, were talking in this very weird coded language, using multiple references, incongruous references to pizza, hot dogs, ice cream, and stuff like that. And there were users on 4chan that pointed out that a lot of these code words were pedophile code words that the FBI had labeled as code words that pedophiles use to communicate with each other. So when we looked into that a bit more, we realized that a lot of these things they were talking about appeared to be children and what they wanted to do to these children. And again, I won't go too graphic on this, but we broke the story. We just simply provided the facts, provided the links, screenshotted the emails and provided links to them, and provided verified facts about the FBI code words that people can look up on the FBI's own website. And that's all we did. We just said, I think the headline, it's still on the website today, was pedophile code words found in John Podesta's emails. And that was 2016. So that was the time Hillary was running for president. And that story just absolutely exploded. It went viral because suddenly you have social media, which was at its peak of popularity. People, Joe Public, your mum, your dad, your gran, your nephew, all these people, your friend, they could all go to WikiLeaks and look up these emails and see for themselves, like, this is true. This doesn't seem right. This seems odd. These are pedophile code words. And the mainstream media had no real way of containing this or debunking it, really. And so I think that was a very powerful moment for independent media. And it was a devastating moment for Hillary Clinton's campaign and the mainstream media, because they had no idea what to do with this. So what they did do, which is what they always do, was they smeared and attacked and deplatformed and demonetized. And they, of course, diverted attention away from the actual story to other stories that maybe were not true, or that were they could debunk, and they would associate that with Pizzagate instead of the actual story that we had actually broken.
That was such a crazy time too.
It was a
crazy time. I feel like sometime back in 2016 is when we all got blinked into this weird fucking reality. Whatever's going on with this timeline is like, this is insane. You know, I've run underground IRC networks and stuff, and worked a lot with like Reddit and communities with Reddit in the past. And so my job was to basically filter out all of the bad things before they became even bigger bad things. And so it's like you see things in real time, like on the IRC from back in the day. And it's one of those things that it just came suddenly is what it seemed like for me. And then people were all of a sudden just talking about it, and then getting into this, and this was like shortly after the time where Snowden had mentioned like the NSA, and it's not shortly after that, but this is just an instance in which that occurred. That it's like it started opening my eyes. Like it's like, wait a second, like is it really like this? No way, it's actually like that. It's like because you're supposed to think like the people in the White House is like they have this prestige. It's honorable, right? They're these high up generals, and they have this prestige. It's honor. No way they would do that. And then when I looked into it and stuff, and I love all the veterans out there, and for all those who serve our militaries globally, especially in the United States, they're heroes to me. But like the U.S. Military Code of Justice and stuff, like it's in their laws, it allowed people to marry at the age marry somebody of 12 years old. Back in the day, the state laws and stuff looking into it is different, and it's even crazier over in Europe. It's been in our generations way before us that people in their 20s marry like 13, 14-year-olds and stuff, and that's their wife for like the rest of their lives and stuff like that, and as is tradition. Then you look at Islam, and I'm sorry, but that's just crazy that in the Quran and stuff, like they marry a 6-year-old. And then we have how many millions and millions upon millions of people out there that subscribe to these religions. It really opens your eyes that, wait a second, it is like that. And if you just see like what's already out there, it doesn't make these things like far-fetched to be a conspiracy theory. And even to this day, like even till recently, I myself was just like, can we prove it? It just seems like, all this chaos and stuff out there on the internet. How do you know what's like, manufactured and what's true and what's not? With that, the world is flat stuff, that's straight up a psyop bullshit. That's somebody fucking around somewhere to where, they're trying to dupe us and stuff. So, how can you know what's real? And if it's coming from 4chan and everything, how do you really know? But that's the thing too, is I was in that underground scene where it was my job to know. Like I had to know these things so that I could best protect people from these things. And, small problems and become big problems. And now it's especially lately, it's showing that, hey, all of this was true. It's sad that it's true.
I remember at the time, they really didn't want people going on WikiLeaks because that's where you could find all the information. That's where you could find the proof. You didn't just go on 4chan and take somebody's word for it. You clicked on the link, you went to WikiLeaks and you read it for yourself. I remember, I think it was Anderson Cooper or somebody at CNN at the time telling the audience or threatening the audience that, if you go on WikiLeaks in America, that could be illegal. So maybe you shouldn't do that. They were really desperately trying to stop citizen journalism from happening and stop. They really wanted to disempower people because the cat was out of the bag. It wasn't just rumors on the internet, it was proof. And independent websites like ours and others were able to present this information clearly to people and reach them. And they couldn't really fight back against that. So they had to become really unscrupulous in order to deal with us.
Absolutely. And there's definitely a war going on. The cat's not just out of the bag. The cat's a fucking cheetah at this point. It's a lion. It's up here roaring right in our faces. And I think it's best now is to pay attention, especially to you, Sean. The war with the fact checkers. Chris, you got something for me?
Yeah, actually, before we move too far, I just want to say while we're still on the topic of Pizzagate, that we actually just started a new email service that's called Bmail, and it's at bmail.ag. And the reason why that makes sense in the Pizzagate conversation is that we have some really awesome domain names, such as Clinton.pizza, Epstein.pizza, Maxwell.pizza, Podesta.pizza, and some other ones too, some much more normal ones. So if you're looking for a super unique email address, but more importantly, the only actually private email, because the problem is with email, even the encrypted ones, there's this moment called the plain text gaps where they unencrypt your email. And it's a brief moment, but in that moment, they can capture that, they can log it, they can turn it over to the authorities. It's basically, they say the chain's only strong as its weakest link. Well, an encrypted email that unencrypts at some point in time is not really an encrypted email. So we actually solved that by using the same SGX technology we use with vp.net. So the whole SMT pipeline is running inside the enclave. So when we receive that email and we have to do that conversion, it's running inside encrypted memory that only the enclave has access to. So basically, we solved the plain text gap that has literally been there since the very beginning of email, and has, if you ask anybody with encrypted email, most people are aware of that, and they just say, well, it's the best that we could do. Well, it's not anymore. We can actually do better, and you guys should check that out. The other cool thing too is actually encrypt things like your subject line, which you won't find with the other encrypted email providers. So go check it out, bmail.ag. You can get yourself a really epic email address at clinton.pizza. And the cool thing about that is, you see them censoring, you see them, they delete articles, they delete websites, they delete videos. They can do that all day long. But when we have a whole lot of people sending emails all over the place at clinton.pizza, and those emails are saved on people's personal devices all over the world, they could literally never, ever memory hold this story. So you can be involved in making sure this Pizzagate story lives forever and is uncensorable for the rest of history. That's all.
Amazing. I'll be sorry guys, I'll be signing up for one of those myself. Those email addresses look really good. And
yeah, absolutely. We're gonna hook you up with one for sure.
I'm always really, really hesitant to send sensitive information on email to people. And when people send me tips and stuff, it's a really tricky area, because up until now, there doesn't seem to be any services out there that I can really trust. They all ask you to trust them, but none of them really have the infrastructure or the hardware that makes me believe that I can trust them. So this is exciting.
For sure. Especially you Proton Mail, like every few months there's like another story where, like, there's literally just one in March, just last month, where they handed over information to the FBI about a protester, and it seems to happen regularly, where like activists, protesters, whistleblowers, things like that, who use Proton Mail and think that they're being protected, and then Proton hands over their information. Like they always talk about this Swiss privacy and how amazing and private Swiss privacy laws are. Like they have MLAT. What that means, the MLAT treaty means that the FBI just has to be like, hey, can we get that? And they're like, yeah. Like that's the famous Swiss privacy. That's what it does. And like it's a really, really great law for the FBI. So if that's your concern, is making sure there's a good pathway from your information to the FBI, then by all means, jump on board with that. But if you actually want your stuff to remain private, then like there's definitely a better option at email.
And that's the thing too, is it's not even just about the FBI. It's about, these data brokers out there that hack everybody's shit and get as much information on you and stuff, so they can use that stuff against you and stuff. I mean, Cash Patel's email just got hacked and all that. So, it's less about me wanting to like send stuff and like, oh man, I'm worried the man's going to get into it. Like if the man wants to get into it, they're going to put a gun to your head and make you log in, that type of stuff. So, it's one of those catch-22s, right? But that's the thing, is privacy is absolutely needed, and then I'm just so happy that, we're able to offer this. There's a question there. How do we come up with B-mail? It's for B-mail, which means secret in Korean. And it's what our founder named it. So it's catchy, B-mail. I like that.
It's good. And it seems it's a competitor against Gmail, which stands for the complete opposite of what you guys stand for.
And with these major email providers out there, it's known. Like you can Google it. These emails go into an NSA data center somewhere. These things, even though they say they're encrypted, if Google can show it to you, Google can see it. That's the thing, is they know they can pull so much information from these things. So to have this technology and stuff that where we can send these encrypted data back and forth is the number one thing. As Chris was mentioning, Proton, they're just ousting journalists everywhere. They're just giving over this information. I think it was the FBI just reached out to Sweden or Switzerland or something, and then so they didn't give the information directly to the FBI. They gave it to Switzerland government, and in which they gave it to the FBI, which cracked the code on who somebody was. That's insane to me, because what is international law at this point?
Absolutely. And also I think the fact that they're able to hand information over in the first place, that's a problem, because then essentially they're asking their users just to trust them and trust whoever's running the company, and you don't know who's running the company and who's involved. And you know, it has to. A lot of these things, I think, have to be done at the hardware, hardware level, so that if somebody's putting a gun to your head as one of the people running the service, you can't provide any information, even if you wanted to. I think that's
that's the whole goal. That's the whole goal of zero trust technologies, and that's what the future's moving into, is zero trust. I myself don't trust anybody or anything, and it's not that I don't trust people. You have to in this life, right? You have to trust people, but it's the thing is that these people can be coerced into doing something that negatively affects you, or you know, you could be the one that's being coerced and everything, and then nobody can trust you. And so the zero trust aspect to it, I think, is the groundbreaking part, is that there's just too much bad that can come from getting this information. You know, working in information security, you know how many times I've seen over the course of like my internet experience that a sysadmin randomly can just like go pull logs and see all the crazy bits of information on people that are using a service. And it's like, wait a second, man, that's a whole lot of data. They're like, oh yeah, man, I don't look at it, you know, it's whatever. But it's like, wait a second, you don't look at it, but you just did look at it. You know, you're looking at these things happening live. And that's a lot of what how these places get by too, is, oh, we don't log. We like, you can come check and see that we don't log, but they'll go look at data flow in real time to catch things and to you know, do what they need to do to surveil us all. So it's all, you know, if people were more technically inclined, I would say it furthers the awakening of what's actually going on. But to explain these things to people is that, you know, you don't need to know how they can all like surveil us. You just need to know that they are, and they will. If the opportunity is presented, you know, for those in power, they will absolutely do that. We're seeing this everywhere. Like, we have to upload our IDs and biometrics. I think I just saw something from you, Chris. You just had to upload your biometrics or something to get back on social media or something.
Yeah, Threads. In order to get back in our account, they upload a picture of myself, and then they were like, "Nope, still banned." That's like, what? You just want to make sure I can't get back on? That's the only. Why else would you need my biometric to ban me, other than to make sure I can't get back on?
I think they wanted your biometrics for any services that they launch in the future. They want to make sure your ass doesn't come back.
Well,
and a lot of these, I don't know about Threads, but I know on X, for instance, a lot of these biometric ID verification systems are processed in Israel. So that's kind of worrying.
And it is kind of worrying, because like, I'm starting to, like, I subscribe to like the American, you know, like, we fight for freedom. Yeehaw! We're American, tried and true. But it's actually, you know, I was raised this way, right? My father served in the Navy, and, you know, I was raised all American. But it is actually, now that I'm older and like involved with everything, it is actually pretty much, it is like this, that Israel's like kind of running the fucking show. Like, they are, like, Mossad is like, you know, it's there. And it's one of those things that I'm like, I try to ignore it and put it away from my mind, but Israel just keeps popping up everywhere, and they're linked to everything. And when I have to go about doing things, you know, especially to keep a good reputation and, you know, live honestly, but also be honest in all that I do, you know, I don't want to be involved with the bad stuff out there. It's Israel. And, you know, it's, like I said, I don't want to get too political with things, but from the tech side of things, from the information security point, it is, you know, they are a major player trying to control the game and trying to control the scene. And I don't know what the politics or the international ways of what's actually happening with all that stuff, what's actually happening. But, you know, if Israel and stuff came to me with like $1 billion and said I had to do something, I would tell them just straight up, get fucked, you know, fuck off. And that's the thing, is I think we're waking up and the world's telling them to do just that.
I think Israel are crucial in the creation of the New World Order. So it's a big topic, but what they need for the New World Order is chaos everywhere, and they need a huge war in the Middle East in order to create a one world government and this globalist system. And so Israel at the moment is really crucial to that plan. And that's why now, when things are starting to get quite chaotic, Israel seems to be front and center of all these chaotic things happening around the world.
And that absolutely does make sense. And you know, that's, you know, it was spoken to me and told to me, you know, especially from people you can't ignore this information from. It is like that ushering in the new world order. And it's not, and when we think like new world order, it's like going to be a new way of doing things, right? No, it's actually it's going to be a new way of them doing things, and no new way for us to be able to do anything about that. And that just it completely conflicts with everything I believe. I believe people should be born into this world and have a fighting chance in life, and be prepared and well equipped by the time they become young adults to face this evil ass world as it is. And nothing prepared me for that. But now that my eyes are open and stuff, I think the best advice I can give for people is just, there's a love and light in things. Be that love, be the change you wish to be in the world. But behind the curtains is some wicked shit out there. It's absolutely wicked. And that's the thing is like with all this information that's coming out now, I don't know what's real and what's not. Like AI videos and the level of technology for AI, just with how fake shit is, I can't tell the difference. Like there's and just like I've actually been duped by information out there as well. Like I'm one of those people that I'm always seeking new things. I want to seek a higher level of consciousness, these types of things. And especially with Facebook and everything, there's like a new era of spirituality. It's Facebook spirituality and shit like that. Like let go of the things that do not serve you. And so they're pushing these things out into everybody's minds while actually limiting the truth. With the fact checking that's going on, first off, I want to know, like, how do I know the fact checkers are right? I think the best thing I've seen was like X's community notes and stuff, but even then, I don't know if I can trust that, because if everybody was given the lie, and then the truth is actually the lie, but people are making up other stuff to push the lie and agenda and stuff, and then they say what the truth is, but it's actually a lie, it's still a lie. Sean, you claim credit for getting Snopes removed from Facebook's fact-checking program. What was the one piece of evidence that finally forced Facebook to pull Snopes off the program?
It was an accumulation of lots and lots of different things that happened over months, maybe over a couple of years, actually. So with Snopes, go back to 2016, when we were breaking Pizzagate, when we were breaking all these stories that were embarrassing the establishment, and they were reaching millions and millions of people, and they were actually having a positive effect. People were waking up and they were finding out information and empowering themselves to do their own research. The mainstream media and the people that in charge, Mark Zuckerberg, in charge of all social media websites, they were panicking. They wanted to know what they could do to contain this. And so the fact-checking industry was really born then. They existed before this, but they were just, these kind of hobbyists, Snopes being one of them, where they just debunked urban legends and stuff like that for fun, not really for profit or anything like that. But when we started making waves with people and started having an effect, the people in charge knew that they had to do something in order to contain this. And the internet was something that they couldn't contain up until that point. So they created and they armed these so-called fact checkers. Now, these fact checkers are a bunch of completely unprofessional, failed, if you want to call them journalists, who completely towed the party line and believed the mainstream narrative. And they were absolutely happy to take their money from Meta, Facebook, and the powers that be in order to spread propaganda. So what happened with Snopes was they were given the tools to shadow ban or outright ban people on Facebook for spreading so-called fake news. And we were one of the primary targets. A guy called David Mickelson, who ran Snopes at the time, he even admitted in interviews that he had a personal vendetta against us and other people, and he saw it as his mission to destroy us and get us taken off Facebook. So we went to war with them, and it was a pretty hard time for a lot of independent media websites. And we were one of the first people to get targeted with all these so-called fact checks. So anytime we put an article out, Snopes would come in with some shoddy, poorly researched, gaslighting type story to debunk what we had just put out. And what would happen is our story would be demoted, our page would get a strike, and we would gradually see the traffic to our website decrease and our visibility decrease and our ability to monetize go away. And that was Snopes. And they did it repeatedly over and over again. Sometimes daily would have multiple strikes from Snopes on Facebook, so that our business started to sink because we weren't getting any viewers. People couldn't see our stories anymore, and we were running out of money. So we decided we could either give up or fight back. So we decided, let's fight back, because the truth is important and we weren't going to give up to these unscrupulous people. And so we just exposed Snopes. I think we had quite a big story where we discovered that Snopes were working with Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016 to promote her and to spread pro-Hillary propaganda on Facebook by fact-checking and deleting anything that was positive for Trump, and fact-checking as true anything that was positive towards Hillary. And we exposed them, created an article, it went absolutely viral. Of course, Snopes debunked it. And we were one of the first outlets to report on the owner, David Milkerson, using hundreds of thousands of dollars of Snopes money to hire prostitutes, one of which became one of an employee of Snopes. We reported that many of the so-called fact checkers that work for Snopes were fact checking while completely high on drugs, and we found evidence of this and reported on that. And so we kind of embarrassed them. We kept going, no matter how much they tried to bury us. We just kept relentlessly going. And it got to a stage that because our reporting was somehow breaking through the censorship, Facebook were kind of confronted with this clearly dishonest fact checker, and they had to get rid of them. I think one of our stories made it to the mainstream, so it became really, really big. And then Facebook were forced to get rid of Snopes. And so it just goes to show that you just got to keep fighting back. If you don't fight back, you're gonna disappear, and they're gonna win. So we decided, in the face of all that adversity and censorship, just keep going.
It's awesome.
And keep going, indeed. Absolutely. And Susie and Nathan, you guys are constantly sharing information and news with me. Susie in real life, but Nathan especially. You work behind the scenes on things, and you really pay attention to what's going on and what kind of level of bullshit that's out there. And I'm glad. So thank you so much for sharing that with me, Sean. Because I've seen that firsthand with Snopes, and I wasn't aware that that it was at that level. So thank you so much for sharing that. Because I've even checked things where I went to go fact check stuff as well. Now I just kind of use an AI to do the research for me, but now it's it was Snopes that was popping up everywhere, and it's like, wait a second, this is just bribery is illegal, lobbyism's not, so it makes sense that Hillary's campaign would be working directly with Snopes. And for everybody out there that wants a Clinton.pizza email, go check out bmail.ag. With the fact checking out there, what's your take on it, Susie? What's your take on it? What do you see?
It's so many things. I mean, going back to what he was saying about Hillary Clinton, I was always a Bernie fan, not trying to be partisan or anything, because I think the Democrats and the Republicans are effing up right now. So, I don't agree with either side. They're just screwing everything up, and we're not working together, which is what should be happening. And it's funny how when you're fact checking things, but then you see things like, going back to being on both sides, you see that, we've got Democrat and Republican, I think it was senators or House reps, was it Matt Gaetz and stuff, went to military bases to try to figure out what's going on with the Gross report after all those things that he said. But it's, especially with the Hillary and Bernie fight, I remember how badly they just did everything to bury him. And it was just not right. It wasn't, they fought dirty. They did everything they could to just push it onto Hillary and to silence Bernie. but he was the one that marched with Martin Luther King. He was the one getting arrested for protesting for things that were right, that were good. And you've got her going over here just throwing mud at Trump, throwing mud at Bernie, having
Yeah, she
people
kneecapped
interrupt
Bernie
his
Sanders.
speeches.
She ruined it for
She
him.
nuked him. Yeah. And it disappointed me. I lost complete faith in the Democratic Party. I was never actually in the Democrat. I was actually going to be independent, but because Bernie switched to Democrat, I went over that way. And, he should have, I was hoping he would have run independent, but I think he got, I don't know, something happened there where he just laid down at some point.
Yeah, I think he just accepted that this is how it is, and there's nothing that he can do about it, and that's
Yeah.
how these assholes operate. I think you
Standing
see
with
that
your
too,
truth.
Sean.
Yeah.
Standing
You've
in
got to
his
remember
truth meant nothing. Go ahead.
you're dealing with Hillary Clinton, the Clinton crime family. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it
Scary.
past them that they would have probably threatened Bernie and his family.
Yeah.
They would have done.
I want to
I
end
think
up on the
so.
Zorro Ranch.
I wasn't going to say
Absolutely.
that, but that is what I think. Yes.
Yeah, it was a shift. It was a complete shift. 1 minute he's against Hillary, exposing her, embarrassing her, winning against her, and the next minute he's just rolling over like a dog.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody noticed this, and this is when I noticed, the moment I noticed, he went and this is something where, I'm not going to go ahead and say anything about Obama, but he went in with a meeting with Obama. He came out looking nervous as hell. He looked disconcerted. And then I don't know what Obama said to him, but he kind of nudged him a little, and he kind of did this little nervous wave. And then from then on, I just saw a complete change in him. And I had been a fan of Bernie since like 2009 or so, when I would see how he would filibuster things, standing for truth back in the day. And so, and not to get too political again, but I'm talking about wanting to stand for truth, no matter over everything, over anything political. And I felt like he was one of those people, and all she did was throw mud at him. And it's like, this is not how this is not America, the America I grew up knowing,
Yeah, it turned out that it's a clown show, and now they're just like blatantly on front stage with it. Nathan, you see a lot of, you have to do a lot of fact checking as well, because with the other things going on out there, we're seeing firsthand just how fucking crazy people can be, and they don't give two shits about the truth. You know what I'm saying? The people out there, if it fits their agenda or they think it's funny to mess with somebody's life or throw a kink in somebody's giddy up, they'll take that opportunity, and they do that just for shits and giggles, for laughs and everything. So, with free speech being protected out there, Nathan, with the fact checking going on, what do you think? What's your take on the fact checking and where it's at now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always go back to this quote from Stalin. It's not who votes, it's who counts the votes. And there's people that say that this quote is inaccurate or represented by somebody else, but I think the point is the same point, right? So it's whoever is in charge of counting the votes or the opinion is really the problem. So who owns the facts, right? So if we are fact checking, who determines what is a fact, right? So it's not just me, it's some specific person determines that this is a fact, and now everybody else has to fall in line. And I don't think that these types of systems exactly work out with humanity and humans.
For sure. I mean, like in America, we have a right. We're innocent until proven guilty by a jury of our peers. That's the law. But that's not how fact checking works. That's just like some random asshole in his mother's basement is like, I don't like what you said. You're false. And like, that's not a jury of your peers. That's not a court. That's not a legal system. That's just some asshole in his mother's basement. And like, that's not how it's supposed to work in America.
It's not how it's supposed to work, but I'll say my famous saying is, it do be like that. I know, and especially working in information security, I have to pay attention to basically everything, right? It's information, all of it. So I'll see things and be like, okay, this is what's going to be happening in the industry. This is okay. I have all the facts happening because it's affecting everybody, and this is in business. So you have to, you have to keep aware of these things. And then I'll go see, like, not even 10 minutes later that, Trump says the exact opposite of what's actually happening. So what I hate in this world is when people piss on my leg and they tell me it's raining. You know what I mean? And
Well, the other day, I shit you not, he gave a speech the other day. He was talking about the Iran war. In a 7-minute period, he was like, we're not interested in a regime change. That is not what we want. 7 minutes later, he's like, they might need a regime change. That's what we want. It's like, bro, this is the same speech. Like, usually he would do it in a separate speech, so it was like, they'd at least have to put 2 videos together to show it. But it's like, they don't have to do that anymore. He just said it right himself and back to back.
I think Susie hears me often yelling, and like I'll be screaming and saying, "Am I in a fucking cartoon?" And it's because this stuff actually, it makes me it's almost like it's not real. Like, it's almost like as if like something is making them like be puppets like this. And like, it's not just Trump. This is one example. Like, I don't give a shit who the president is, right? I feel like when you become the president, you're sat down and told how things are really going to be. You know what I'm saying? And it is kind of like that. If Bernie Sanders could be silenced like that, that's like, you fly too close to home, too close to the sun, you get burned, right?
What if people? Here's a crazy idea. What if we didn't have fact checkers? What if we just all fact checked for ourselves? Because how can you trust anybody, whether it's a media organization or a fact-checking organization, to tell you?
Well, here's the issue with that, Sean, is, and I work with this, so I've seen this firsthand, and with statistics on this, is that like 54% of Americans can only read and write at a 6th grade level. The test scores for reading and writing are going down so significantly that I'm sorry, but I actually fear for humanity. When you see these statistics, it almost takes hope right from you and right out of you. And I think the answer to this, Sean, is really that they can't. Is the thing is that, and the ones that can, they don't know to.
But that's deliberate. This situation is created deliberately. You have these people who are not educated, they can't read or write, they're illiterate, and so of course they're going to get their information and their fact checks from the news, from fact checkers. And on the surface, that sounds great, but if you really think about it, that's the system working as it should. Wouldn't it be better that if these people that are in this unfortunate position where they're not educated for whatever reason, on top of that, should they then be propagandized? That doesn't seem right to me. Should they then, they're already vulnerable. Should these unscrupulous people then be able to force feed them a diet of propaganda? And I'd say no. I think all the fact checkers should be abolished completely.
And that's the thing, is like in this life, and especially with heroes, and I value these heroes so much, is that you have to protect the weak. That's what heroes do. And for those that aren't rewarded with an education, or those who fall behind, by 3rd grade, and this is 3rd grade, like young kid level, right? If you don't grasp the very bare basics of reading and writing in the 3rd grade, then by the 8th grade, you fall behind so intellectually that by the time you're a young adult, or even just in 8th grade, you fall so far behind that you're unable to catch up. And we're seeing that with teachers just pushing students through everywhere and stuff. Is that, hey, they don't even prepare you in this, at least not here in the United States, for you to become a young adult and enter into the workforce. They kind of do, but it really revolves on parenting and teachers at a young age. And that's one of the things, is like, I look at these statistics and all of this information, because this, we look at things like demographics for marketing. We look at like who's using a product. We look at these things, and it's. I want to say that there's hope for people to become more educated, be smarter, but I feel like you mentioned earlier, is that they create so much chaos, and this is a part of that chaos. That they create so much chaos and then operate in the gray areas of that chaos and stuff so that you're not paying attention as to what they're doing. And so they're making points A and C, you know, go all hectic and stuff, and they're operating at point B. So it actually is really like this, and actually it is really sad. You know, and having these people that are uneducated, and one of the spiritual lessons and human lessons that I've learned in life is that you can't teach other people things that, you know, it's on them to learn, right? To learn is to teach oneself in this life. And I think a lot of people need to do that, and they need to realize this, that, you know, if you're not getting this education and stuff, then you need to, you know, seek these things out and find the actual truth yourself. But that's the thing too, is like, it's so heavily, I want to say, it's just, even if you don't go look into things, if everybody around you is believing in something and talking about the same thing and getting you on board with it, and you kind of have to agree to it, because if you don't, then you're the social exile in that social group. And these are families and stuff, right? I've had my you know, my family say, like, if you go vote for Obama and stuff, just don't you ever talk to me again. Like, wait a second, that's kind of messed up, for one. But you know, how many other households are like that out there?
Yeah, completely. People are just completely divided about all of this stuff, and pressured into believing or parroting things that they've heard from other people because they want to fit in. But the way I look at it is, if you haven't got the tools to navigate the world for whatever the reason is, do you want to give all of your power away to these people who, at the very least, are not very good people and have ulterior motives? Do you want to give your power away to them so they can help you along? Or is it better to just find the tools and pull yourself up somehow and do it yourself? And I think we need to work on creating a society where people feel compelled to empower themselves, and there isn't these structures in place that are going to force feed them propaganda and feed them the so-called facts, because I think that breeds laziness and complacency.
It does breed laziness and complacency. And the thing is the truth, and there's nothing but the truth, right? And it's just the truth. You know, I think everything's coming to a head in this world. I think people are awakening to all of these things and saying, hey, wait a second, I don't have to put up with this bullshit. You know, the systems in place were not designed to suit the human spirit, and which means it does not give us an atmosphere or a society in which we are meant to or able to thrive in. And it seems like the only way to thrive in this is if, like, you just join like where every man has his hand in somebody else's pocket, and they're all looking for a quick buck to rip somebody off or sue somebody for something so that they can get ahead and join this higher up in the social ladders in life. And it just kind of seems like that's all people want is money. You know, they don't want the truth. They just want, and mostly for good, honest reasons and stuff. They want to take care of their family. You know, the American dream for me is just own a home and be able to have the freedoms to go out to eat and go see things and enjoy things, you know, in the pursuit of happiness. And that's the thing is, I'll say this, and I'm not even being kind with this one. There's people in the fucking way of our pursuit of happiness, and it's starting to quite fucking piss me off. Excuse my language. It's actually aggravating to me, especially at a chief level of a tech company, that there is so much dumb shit that's in my way that I have to account for and deal with on a daily basis, that it's absolutely insulting to not just me, but my friends and family and stuff, when it's like, what can we do about it, right? And I think that's the level in which they know that we can't do anything about it. Even if you can do something about it, all your loved ones and friends can't do anything about it, right? So you have to end up being the hero of the day anyways. We have a question here from Anonymous Ninja. Sean, do you think the Clintons and Obamas and Epsteins were or are in league with each other?
Oh, absolutely. They're completely in league with each other. Epstein had blackmail material on all of these people, Trump included, I think. They're all part of the same system. They may, on the surface, disagree with things, little policy things and stuff like that, but they're all part of the same system. They're in the position they're in because they've been allowed to be put in that position. And Epstein's role in all of this was to gather compromise on world leaders so that they would toe the party line. So if they stepped out of place, there was this compromise on them so that they would have to be put back in their place, Hillary, Obama included. So they're all part of the same system.
And that's the thing is too, and it's a system in which I'm not a part of or aware of, and it's something that if you try to be aware of, how can you be aware of it if you don't have the experience or like, you know, the proof of these things? And even if issued the proof and given the proof, you know, we have our lives to live. You know, we'll forget in 2 weeks anyways because, you know, we got like 50 other dumb things to deal with. We have another question. I can't read this one too well. My thing keeps popping up here. Chris, can you, no, there it goes. I keep hearing definitive statements that the Earth is not flat. How do you know if the Earth is flat or not, given the lack of information to verify it? And Sean and Susie and Nathan and Chris, I want to hear this from you guys. But I'm just going to go ahead and say I just look out the plane window down at the ground, and I can see it for myself. So, what do you guys think?
For me, my favorite piece of evidence was one of like the top people that is in the community to prove that the Earth is flat. Got a bunch of people in the community to raise a bunch of money. I think they donated thousands and thousands of dollars. He got like a $20,000 gyroscope and all this stuff so that they could definitively prove in a Netflix series that the world was in fact flat. And it was probably the worst self-owned in television history where he gets this awkward moment. He's like, huh, well, that shouldn't be like that.
That's where he's trying to laser
like
straight,
this.
right?
Yeah,
and then he had a device on the other side that would measure.
Yep.
It would shoot straight through, but because the Earth is rounded, it didn't shoot straight through.
Well, they were holding it up high, so they were saying, you know, if the world was flat, like it should perfectly shine right through the hole, and they should be able to see the laser, but they couldn't. And he's like, well, if it was curved, you know, we would have to lift the laser up like 6 feet. So lift it up, and he's like, and you see the laser's like, huh. Well, that shouldn't be happening. It was extremely awkward, but these were all, you know, the best that the community could come up with to try to prove it wrong. They all put their money together. They all came up with a plan and went and proved themselves wrong in one of the worst television cell phones ever. So for me personally, that was enough because, I mean, right there on the spot, they were like, well, I guess we're wrong. So I don't know. That did it for me.
I got to say, it got a little dangerous too when God, what was his name? There was a guy who built his own rocket, got in it, took off in the desert to go and see for himself to report back if he saw the world was flat. No, this is true. He went out, the rocket launched, it fucking crashed, and he died.
Oh,
so
wow.
I feel like this guy, I mean, what could have gone through his head? That he went up in the air and said, "Oh shit, I was wrong," and then you fucking die.
and all the what to prove it to stupid people that the world is actually round.
God,
and it's,
I don't remember his name.
so people are actually out there undoing the damage that PSYOP has done to people.
That's so dangerous. That's the danger of misinformation. Now someone died because of it.
I think it's a PSYOP. I think the whole thing is a PSYOP, but I would never actually definitively, because I think the person said they keep hearing definitive statements that the Earth is not flat. I would never say definitively, not because I believe the Earth is flat. I don't. I think it's a PSYOP. But I think anything that gets as much coverage in the mainstream media and mockery as this, I think it's deliberate. I think it's something the mainstream media can use to make all conspiracy theorists look insane and look stupid. And stupid things like that happen where somebody gets a rocket and goes into the desert and dies. Everyone can say, well, look, conspiracy theorists are crazy and they're dangerous and people are dying. This stuff is really dangerous and we need to get rid of all the misinformation. And that includes all the other conspiracy theories too. And so they put it all in the same box. So I don't believe it. I don't think the Earth is flat. I think there's enough proof to show that it's not flat, but I don't think it's good to put everything in the same box and say that, you know, that's definitely not true and it should be banned and people should be, you know, reprimanded for even talking about it. Because I think that's what the system wants us to do. It wants us to
You don't want to have
all
guilt by
conspiracy.
association.
No.
Yeah. Or get banned because somebody, you know, talks about that. But like for me, like I agree. Like I'm not going to say it definitively, but I think it's extremely unlikely, and it's because of the too many minions problem they came up with. I think it was like Oxford University, but it's the concept that the more people that have to be involved in order for a conspiracy to stay hidden, then the less likely it is that it's actually a conspiracy. And for that to be a conspiracy, for that, if the world was actually flat, then like every transatlantic, every international pilot ever, anybody who's ever been involved in like long distance air travel, anybody who's been along, and every ship captain, and on boats, we've been doing boats for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So you're talking like just like at this point, millions of people would have to have been involved in this conspiracy and be lying to try to keep it a secret for some reason. And I think that's extremely unlikely.
It makes me wonder, and then, that is a good way of looking at it, Chris, because like, you can't hide stuff like for that long and stuff, and then it comes out that the very thing you live on is flat. You know what I'm saying? It's I've seen this level of stupidity, and I've seen people bold-faced, straight to my face, like swear up, and you get at the level of being angry at me because I wouldn't accept that the world is flat. And it's humans are an interesting species. I'll give them that. It's here's the thing is like with free speech and stuff, to give out misinformation, boldly lie to people, a lot of times and stuff, a lot of these people don't even know that they're dumb. They don't even know that what they're saying is misinformation. They just heard it from somewhere, it sounds cool, so they're gonna regurgitate it, or they're, for whatever reason, they're gonna stick by those beliefs, come hell or high heavens. So
I think the best thing we can do with stuff like that is actually to allow people to continue to spread their theories and talk about it, because the minute you start banning and suppressing it, not only does it maybe give it some legitimacy, but it's also opening the door to censoring other things and again, putting everything in the same box. So other conspiracy theories that might have some merit, maybe did we go to the moon? Was 9/11 an inside job? All these other things that would require quite a large number of people to make happen, but they could be true. But if we start censoring the more batshit crazy stuff, all of that other stuff goes in that box as well. So I think it's just important to let people be as crazy as they want, and the truth is the truth, and people will see it for what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the world awakening, is that they see that the truth is the truth and the way it is for themselves.
Yeah.
With free speech and everything, you argue that free speech must be defended even if it offends people. Where do you draw the line, if at all?
We still have one more question, and I think we want to do an intermission.
Oh, okay. Well,
we don't hear from Ecstatic.
Okay. Where's the question on there? I don't see it.
Oh, it's on screen. With all the misinformation out there, what has been verifiably proven about Pizzagate?
Where do we start?
Great question.
So much has been. I mean, where you can start is with WikiLeaks. Go onto WikiLeaks. Search the. I don't know what the terms are. I'd have to find what the terms are. But there are links to the emails that are still online, and you can go and look at them. These are verified DNC emails from John Podesta's team, from Hillary Clinton's team, and you can see the coded language. You can go on the FBI's website. You can see the code words that have been identified as pedophile code words, and you can just read through it. That's where you can start. That's not where it ends, though. There's a lot of information out there, but it's a good gateway to learning about all of this stuff. I mean, we haven't got time to go into all of the pedophile conspiracies and all the verified things that have been happening, but there's a lot, and I think that's a good place to start. That's why that acted as such a catalyst for so many people, because it was something they could verify and they could read about. One of the things about Hillary specifically, which is related to Pizzagate, was a few years prior to the emails being released by WikiLeaks, the State Department had its own pedophile scandal, where there were it was reported on NBC News, and you can go on YouTube, you can go on X, all the social media platforms, and you can search for this. NBC actually broadcast a clip, a segment about the State Department under Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, covering up evidence of a pedophile ring in the State Department at the highest levels. And this was the mainstream media at the time reporting on this, NBC News. And that just got absolutely buried. NBC, I think, were forced to pull the report. So it got shown to loads of people at the time, and then it just disappeared. People that tried to upload that report on social media found the video being deleted, us included. We found that report before Pizzagate happened. We were talking about all of this stuff, and people just didn't believe us, even though the evidence and all the facts and the information was there. And then, of course, WikiLeaks released their emails, and there was further proof. But a question like that, what's verifiably proven about Pizzagate? A lot of it is verifiably proven. And we'd have to sit here for quite a long time to go through all the individual things that we can talk about. But that's a good start. Go on to WikiLeaks, look up the code words on the FBI's website. All the links are available on our website, but other people's too. So you don't just have to take anybody's word for it. And then look up the NBC reports about the State Department under Hillary Clinton covering up evidence of a pedophile ring involving senior major politicians. It's all there. It's all verified.
I looked into it myself, and I was even shown it and where to kind of look for, like Susan showed me on the research that he had and how
Can I
yeah.
can I add that the word pizza shows up 911 times in the Epstein files. So if you really want to know what's verifiable, go and check out how many times the FBI has interviewed somebody that has said the exact same fucking story. And then also go back to 1996 when they were already interviewing young girls about Epstein. Why would the FBI even interview them if they didn't think there was any merit to it? Please, really, please believe these girls. It doesn't take 900 fucking things and 300 pages of documents to believe these women when there's just a few men that are doing these horrible things, not just men.
There are still whistleblowers out there alive. There are still victims of Epstein and the Clintons out there who are trying to tell their story. And the mainstream media are not interested at all. Juliette Bryant is one of them. Hopefully I'll be interviewing her soon myself.
Oh, lovely.
She verifies it herself. She's a verified Epstein victim, and she names names and she talks about her first-hand account of what happened. And then, of course, like you just said, like Susie just said, there's the Epstein emails that have just been released, and there's so much information out there. People just need to start looking, and they'll start finding it.
You know, like I have a question, like, you know, especially with having her on your show, and you guys delving into that, and she's an actual victim, and she's going to name names and stuff. Why is this stuff like blowing up everywhere? You know, and I've asked this question before. It's like, wow, this is going to make the news, and then nothing. You know what I mean, like, why aren't people paying attention to this?
You want to know why? Because they're literally willing to start a war to stop us from looking at this.
Yeah.
Did you notice that once Epstein died, and I'm not going to say that COVID started because of Epstein, because that's just crazy, but who knows? At this point, I'll let anything go with a grain of salt. But we so quickly forgot about Epstein once COVID started. And I think they saw that. I think they realized that once something huge hits, they suddenly forget about the last huge thing. So, you know, the fact that all of a sudden we decide to attack Iran because, like, what was it, right after some huge release happened, and that was super incriminating to him, especially about raping a 13-year-old girl back in the day who sued him in 2016 but dropped the case over death threats. And people said, oh, well, she's just trying to get attention. Do you really think so at this point?
It's absolutely true. Look at 9/11 is another one. Just before 9/11, trillions of dollars, I think it was trillions of dollars, went missing from the Pentagon.
Yes. And cash went to overseas, right?
Yeah, and there was evidence like at the World Trade Center and at the Pentagon, and both of those locations happened to get hit the very next day. The very next day.
And all of the records that were...
Oh, right.
A missile hit that side of the Pentagon, where those records would have been kept anyways. And then other files that were, really important to us as the American people. But it makes you wonder if that's the Pentagon and a fucking missile hit through it and stuff. That's kind of crazy,
Right.
JFK is about to disband the CIA, and he just gets assassinated by a lone gunman. You know, all these things. There's a pattern. Anytime something is
called-
about to be disclosed, or something that's going to happen that the elites, the establishment don't like, they do something bigger to distract the public and to stop that from progressing.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah,
sure they
so
have
every
think
time like
tankers
there's something big that they want to distract from, there's one. They usually it's either we're going to war, or oh look, we might talk about aliens now, and those are the two things that really really distract people. And right now we're going to war with Iran, and they're talking about alien breeding programs. So what I'm trying to say is we're never going to see those Epstein files.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I do think we're going to see the Epstein files, and I do think these the victims
We
and
will.
survivors from all of this. I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to be heard. And that's the thing too is like it's at some point in time, like whether you subscribe to the Bible or not, the good guys win anyway. Right? Like it's going to come to light. It's going to be at the point where something has to be done about this. China just said they have the Epstein files that landed on their desk, and then I'm like, okay, they're probably bullshitting. China usually doesn't bullshit on things like that. They're kind of like straight up gangsters type shit. I mean, they're China. But and then like I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't really believe. And then like 2 days later, Pam Bondi is like fired now. And they're turning on each other. It's fast, like evil can't sustain itself because it'll eat itself. You know what I mean? And I think that's what we're seeing now. But the levels of which all this stuff goes is just the rabbit hole. And I have to purposely like disconnect myself from this because the rabbit hole and my empathy towards all of this, it destroys me. Like even just seeing that how bad all of this is. I consider myself a strong person, but the mind can only accept so much. When I'm reading these things, I'm like, somebody has to do something about this human trafficking. Somebody somewhere knows about this and has the ability to stop this, and it's at the level of which our president is involved, and for people out there, that don't believe President Trump is involved with that or not, it doesn't matter because right now what's on the table is the information is not making it to us. And he would be somebody that would be, with authority and power to make it so that we have this information, and he is choosing to not do that. So, I mean, we don't need to have advanced mathematics and stuff to see how all this bullshit's lining up. I'm saying this is like, that's what the truth is that you can undeniably say, hey, that is the truth because, there's just no way that it can't be that.
I mean, I think right now we're going to find out because, supposedly they're claiming that Pam Bondi was like on the payroll of some lawyer that it basically helps rig elections for Democrats, which means that guy might possibly be involved in trying to protect high-profile Democrats, which are some of the main targets that would get really, really hurt by the Epstein list coming out. And Pam Bondi has sat for a year and done jack shit with the Epstein list. So it is possible that Pam Bondi was preventing that from coming out. But I think like Trump, you got like a week or two, buddy. Like that shit's got to come out right now. Otherwise, forget it. Like we know you're involved. You know what I mean? Like if it comes out right now, he's like, yeah, sorry, Pam was holding this up. It's bullshit. We got rid of her. Here's the information. Let's start arresting people. Okay, maybe I would be open to believing you possibly might not be involved. But anything short of that, like, come on, like I think it's pretty clear now.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking clear. I mean, especially the people like us that like, I'm not dumb. None of you are dumb. I can see that. We're speaking to you, and it's like, wait a second. It's almost. That's why I say this stuff is insulting because how dumb do they think we really are? Fuck off. With all this going on, I say let's go ahead and take an intermission. Everybody, let's get some water. Let's recuperate. And let's digest the information that Sean has to give us and his take on all of this worldly things going on. So we'll be right back.
T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes.
Yeah. Every click, every move, yeah, they're watching the feed, showing ads for the things that you don't really need. They want all the data, they want your ID, but I've got some news that just won't work for me. So I encrypt the connection and cover my tracks. We get to the truth and we stick to the facts. We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak, what you wanna share is
T-minus 1 minute.
Look, the world is exposed, yeah, the walls are thin. Everybody posting every place that they've been. Trading privacy for likes, that's a heavy cost. In the ocean of data, the person gets lost. So we flip the switch, yeah, we go underground. Moving through the silence without making a sound. Not hiding because you are doing something wrong. Just defending your rights before they are gone. The room is secure, so let the session start. Speak from the brain or speak from the heart. Tell us your story, we unlock the doors. We invite the guests, and
T-minus
yeah, the
30
floor is
seconds.
yours. You can keep the mask on, keep it low key. Privacy is priceless, but opinions are free. We amplify the voices that they try to call weak. Welcome to the stream, time to hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, it's our choice.
10, 9,
Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean
7,
having a voice.
6, 5,
Hide and
4,
speak, what you
3,
wanna share is
2,
only your choice.
1.
Hide and speak.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Sean from The People's Voice. We are getting to the truth to get to the bottom of it all. And to get to the bottom is quite the journey. So we're glad everybody is here. If anybody has any questions, just go ahead and hit us with a capital Q, a colon, and then ask your question. And we can pop that up on the screen. If anybody would like to join, just say something in the chat and we'll get you a link sent over and get your take on everything here. I personally like hearing what you have to say. Sean, it's like I like when people inform me of these things and I don't have to be sent down a path to go look for myself, because I get hooked on the search and looking into it and stuff, and it does mentally negatively affect me. And I'm sure it would do that for other people too. And I want nothing but like good mental health for people. You know, I believe in a better world, and you know, sometimes I wonder if I'm ignorant for believing that, but I'm never going to stop believing that. And I hope others don't as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important to actually keep your eye on or just remember the big picture, which is why well, at least for me, why I'm doing this and what I want, what kind of world I want to see happen. And that's positive. It's a world full of people who have freedom and are free to do what they want, pursue the thing they want to do and be happy and you know, love. I suppose it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all darkness. But in order to get there, you need to be able to speak about this stuff, and you need to be able to expose it. Because if you don't, it's going to continue to exist, and you can't have a world like that if you've got all these horrible things happening and people being controlled and manipulated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, is in all these things being decided for us in which, you know, we have no say or agreement on. When that global thing for the IDs came about, and you know how they're putting restrictions on internet, and then I think like the UK or the EU had you know, some big thing with how they were wanting to ban encryption entirely. And it's like, wait a second, what kind of weasels out there are you know, thinking of this shit, for one, and then two, how is this stuff even landing on the table to be a problem? And I don't know what the solutions to all of this is. You know, I've seen very many perspectives on it. What I just do is I just unsubscribe from all of it, and you know, create as many rules and laws out there in the global atmosphere as you guys want. You know, where one thing is legal or illegal, you know, it's legal right down the road. You know what I'm saying? It's you know, so they're trying to add restrictions to further divide us all. Is all I can say. And I was just telling Susie, like, whatever this negative thing out here, whether it's the devil, whether it's you know, evil itself, it's dividing us. And it's I've seen like the greatest people that have the greatest synergy, and they're like a match mentally, right? Start going at each other's throats for no reason and stuff. It's like it's almost as if something is negatively affecting us out here. And it could be just the psychology of this stuff. Like I said, the psyops and stuff. What does that stand for? Psychological operations, right? And it affects everybody into the level of which we burst, and then ruin entire friendships, relationships, jobs. And with free speech and freedom, I absolutely believe in freedom. But my take on freedom is we are free. You don't have to go be free. Just be free. You know what I'm saying? Just unsubscribe from the bullshit and just be free. And just say, hey, wait a second. Yeah, something's going on here. I'm not liking this. But I've run platforms before, and Susie has as well, and Chris and Nathan, and they've all been a part of like the underground scene and even the mainstream scene. We've done things like where we give people a voice, and there's been times where I've really questioned, like, why in the absolute hell did I think it was a great idea to give everybody a microphone to start yapping and going crazy, as well as cool. I absolutely believe in free speech, but then they just started on cancel culture, and then they canceled me, and then they cancel others, and then they push little narratives of lies and stuff. That I've seen some things firsthand where free speech is absolutely dangerous, but I still believe in free speech. I believe people, they should not be silenced. But I wish people would be good with this, with things. And there's a lot of philosophy to it, right? And
that's free agency for you.
I don't think I'm ever going to understand it or the nature of people, because every time I lose hope in everything in humanity, somebody comes along the lines and like reminds me of why I should have that spark and like absolutely let go of those negative view takes on things. I've seen levels of kindness and stuff that just come from selflessness and stuff from people when I was dead and in the ground, from the world and the voice that people have, and how it personally affected me. So my viewpoints are like, I've experienced a lot. I've seen a lot with all of this. I've gone through a lot, and you have too. That's the thing, is like, you've been cancel cultured. You've been put on the radar. I'm sure you're probably on every fucking list known to man. And you know what? That's cool. You know what? That just makes you a star. You should shine on. That's my voice. But you argue that free speech must be defended, even if it offends people. Where do you draw the line, if at all?
I think the line I would draw is, if you can't shout fire in a crowded theater, because you're gonna put people's lives in danger. It's a direct threat to people's lives and their safety. So that's where I draw the line, is where if you're physically putting somebody's life in danger, in imminent danger, I think that's already illegal in most countries anyway. So that's where the line is drawn. I think the thing is with free speech is there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to hear from people that you absolutely disagree with, or worse, that you find repulsive or offensive, and that you're going to absolutely dislike and hate. And it's going to ruin your day, and it's going to bring your mood down, and all of those kind of things. But with freedom and free speech, you're free to move on. Go somewhere else. Find your group that you do like. Find something you're interested in, and gravitate towards that. Because I think the alternative is far worse, and is far more evil and far more insidious, and leads to a much darker place that's not good for anybody. So even if you've got some temporary respite from maybe silencing those people because they're being a bit disruptive, and they're bringing the mood down, or they're really psychologically having a negative impact on me, so I've got a good reason to maybe silence those people. That's opening the door to silencing other people and to suppressing views that you don't agree with, and that has all sorts of implications. And as a can of worms, I don't think anybody really wants to open, because that is way more evil than allowing some idiots to run rampant and say what they want to say that you might not really like, or you might disagree with. That it might ruin your mood, because ultimately I think the world will become a better place if everybody is given their freedom and their free speech to explore and say what they want to say. I think ultimately that's what will help dismantle the evil power structures that are causing the real harm in the world, that are causing the wars and creating the imbalances that we see everywhere. I think that's what's going to help free people is having that freedom and having that free speech. And unfortunately, that sometimes does come with annoyance and irritation. But I think that's worth putting up with for the greater good.
For the greater good, and I absolutely agree. And my take lately, especially lately, is, you know, with people's, I cherish their free speech. I think they should have it. But I should also have the freedom to challenge them to duel by combat. If somebody wants to say some stupid shit, then they can go ahead and, you know, I feel like some people do need their asses beat in this world. But that's my take on it. And I'm not trying to have a negative viewpoint with things. You know, I'm absolutely, I say uplift others, be kind to everybody. But some of these people, they know exactly what they're doing and they know exactly what they're saying, and they're trying to stir the shit pot for people.
Yeah, that's rage baiters, though, you know, for you. That's how they are. That's how they
I feel
operate.
like if I feel like people are trying to ruin the atmosphere in which somebody else is trying to thrive and be a good person, or they're using their free speech, knowing that it can cause cancel culture to happen. I feel like if people use their free speech knowing that they're putting somebody else down, and most people do this. I'm not saying most people, but a lot that I've seen is that people will put others down so that they look cool and look good in front of others, so that, you know, they have their place, they belong, right? They fit in, because they got other people to laugh with them or something, and all of a sudden everybody's finger pointing at somebody else. You know, that's just trying to do good. And this is like, it's schoolyard bullying is what I see. And that's the thing is I've seen this where the majority of people just didn't care, or like they were neutral on things and just were absolutely cool about it and level-headed. But then the bad voices, they came in and they were the loudest, so they were the most heard, and so they caused the most the biggest issues and stuff, because, you know, other people don't know what's going on, so they hear it, they believe what they're being told. And somebody mentioned something earlier, that we're innocent until proven guilty, but in reality, no. Why do you have to keep proving your innocence if you're innocent until proven guilty? So that's just one aspect of it. I have different takes on this. I'm sure Nathan, Susie, Chris, I'm sure you guys have some different takes on all of this stuff. You know, we've seen this firsthand over
just let them, you know, if they want to believe something about you, let them. If somebody wants to say that they heard a rumor about me, go ahead and believe it, because it just tells me what kind of person you are. So I really could care less couldn't care less about the fact that people have an opinion of you that may be incorrect. They may spread those opinions about you, but at the end of the day, if you stand in your truth and you stand in your integrity, nobody can take that from you.
I think too, like you have to remember, like, it's not about what you believe is hate speech or what you believe is extremism or whatever. You know, look under the Biden eras. There were people that were told that wearing an American flag T-shirt at school was supporting extremism. You know, there were FBI agents showing up to school board meetings saying that parents that were interested in directing their children's education were being extremists and far right protesters. And so all it takes is like a bad government to come in, and we've seen many of those in America, you know, and all around the world, really. But when they come in and they change the rules on what is considered hate or what is considered bad or offensive, and they can change it to be anything. You know, look under COVID, people who were I mean, you had world-renowned doctors saying, hey, you know what? Something about this doesn't seem right. You know, I've been researching this stuff my entire life. Oh, sorry, you were banned. And it's like, wait, I want to hear what that guy's saying. He's an expert. You've just been saying, trust the expert. You've been ramming that down my throat for weeks now. Here's an expert saying maybe they're not right, and you're immediately like, ban them from everywhere off the internet. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, it's not about what is actually right or wrong. It's just about giving somebody the right to decide what is right and wrong and what you're allowed to hear or say. And that's never worked out. It has never worked out at any single time in human history has that turned out to be a good thing for the people.
Yeah. And you guys have had a taste of that actually yesterday with Threads banning you and Truth Social banning you for the mere mention of the people's voice, my name, maybe Pizzagate. I don't know what exactly got you banned, but maybe the people that run those platforms looked at you guys and thought, oh, you're talking about these topics, that's bringing my mood down. You're troublemakers. I don't want you on my platform. You're going to ruin the vibe. You're just full of shit. I don't want that. You see, they may have that interpretation too, and so they might feel completely justified in banning you from the platform. And it's just for me, it's just having that mindset. It's just not worth it, because you don't know where that's going to lead, and that the thing, something that you feel justified in, like, oh, those people are being disruptive, they're annoying, they're saying these things that aren't true. The same can happen to you from somebody else, and I think it's just not worth it.
I agree. It's not worth it. And that's the thing. I feel like if we look at it from an energy level, if somebody else is ruining somebody else's energy and stuff, what good is going to come from that, right? You know, you can do good things in this world, and not all good stuff comes back to you because you do good, right? But if you do bad things, nothing but bad is going to come back from you. And it's how I kind of look at it and stuff. And I kind of try to pose myself as I still try to integrate with this world. Especially having a voice and having my view takes on things which aren't popular and are different from others. That's the thing is that people are people, and that's just how I accept it. But that's the thing is I have two questions here. Is the Dow still over 50 thou? And did Epstein really kill himself? Is two questions I really have.
No and no.
Okay, I'm glad you answered that.
Yeah.
That's the thing is having a voice is so important that I'm able to ask these questions and I'm able to find the answers and receive these answers. And I feel like that's the best thing that the internet has to offer us all right now, is that we can ask these things, whether they're stupid or silly, and then somebody can give a real answer and give their view take on it. Because a lot of times, I've heard people say things that really change my perspective. I've had a kid walk up to me and ask me a question that just like changed my life view on things, and that they would ask this stuff, like, and no adult ever thought to ask me something like that. It's like it's the small things in this life. It really is.
I also think seeing people thrash around ideas, even if it's quite offensive, like you go on X and you see people arguing all the time and trolling each other and stuff. I think sometimes from those conversations or those insults that are being hurled around, you do find the truth, or you maybe have your opinion changed about things. And I think it's actually, big picture, it's actually really healthy. I think it's really good. Sometimes it can be really annoying. And from a personal perspective, I might choose to direct my attention elsewhere when it gets a bit much. But I think all the differing opinions and the people that I really disagree with coming on my feed, arguing with me, and me going on theirs and arguing with them, I think that actually is really, really healthy. And it allows people to form solid opinions that they might not be so sure of if that wasn't there.
For sure. Like, rarely in human history was our first idea the best idea. It's like we always, we have an idea and we're like, okay, stop. Nobody else put a new idea in. Then we're going to always be choosing like not a very good idea. Like our whole society and civilization was built on people coming together and arguing about things and saying, no, we should build the houses over there. Like, nah, if we build them over there, it's going to flood. We got to build them over there. That's our entire civilization. That's how it has always worked, is we argue about things because we care about them. And by doing so, we uncover new viewpoints. And sometimes we're in the middle of an argument and you'd be like, shit, I hadn't considered that. You're right. My bad. Let's go that way. That's definitely a better way. But that's how we as a society choose the best path, is by discussing them and trying to figure it out. Which one really is the best path? Not just by saying, oh, well, this guy's powerful and his feels tells him that's the best path, so we're going to do that. Like, that's not how it works. That's stupid.
It is stupid. It's all stupid. I feel like somebody, like a group of like world leaders over human history, you're telling me nobody's come together and hit us with a timeout. Like, hey, wait, hold on, everybody. Like, this ain't working. This is stupid. We should probably do something about this, raise awareness on how stupid all of this is, and actually offer the solutions. But it isn't like that. It really makes me wonder why it's not like that. Maybe I'm not smart enough to know, Surviving in this world's hard enough, and it's absolutely even harder to survive online, especially when you're seeking the truth and you get the truth, and then you start talking about the truth. You're going to get those people that come in. They're just absolutely ignorant, and it's covered with the freedom of speech. They're able to do that, and they're allowed to do that, and but that's the thing is like if they're allowed to do that and we're not in situations. Sean, you've been called every name in the book. You've been deplatformed and suppressed. Most people
Yeah.
would have folded years ago. I mean, absolutely folded. What is the one truth you've uncovered or the one belief you hold that makes all this friction worth it? Why is it a hill worth dying on?
Well, I think the truth, as unsettling and as sometimes unpopular as it is definitely a hill worth dying on, because I think about the Matrix movie. There's a scene in the Matrix movie where somebody who's broken free from the Matrix wants back in, and they're sitting at the restaurant. I've forgotten the character's name, eating the steak that Agent Smith is giving them, and he's saying
his name was Cypher. By the way.
Cypher, yeah.
Cypher. And I think about that quite a lot. It kind of resonated with me because it tastes really good, and he's gonna be given this great life, and ignorance is bliss for him. And for me, like once you've gone down the rabbit hole, for me, ignorance, how can ignorance possibly be bliss? It would just eat away inside of me. So my philosophy is, no matter how uncomfortable or unpopular the truth is, you've just got to keep going, and you've got to win the argument, because if you win the argument and people wake up to what's going on, there won't be a divide anymore. There won't be a left and a right. There won't be us versus them. There won't be people who believe in conspiracy theories and people that think conspiracy theories are rubbish. There'll just be people that know the truth. And the only people that then really need to worry are the people that have been enslaving us for generations. Those are the people that will really need to worry. So I want that future. And so that's what keeps me motivated and keeps me going.
I agree, and thank you so much for that. And it's one of those things I'm trying to do as well. If you can't, I do actually have a problem with human trafficking. I do actually have a problem with Epstein and Maxwell and all this bullshit. I absolutely have big issues with a lot of different topics going on in the world. And that's the thing is, like, it's not on me to do things about this. What can I do, right? You can't take on the elite. And it absolutely is enslavement. And it's enslavement at the level that, they're at a level in which they can help all the rest of us. They climb that mountain, they could throw the rope back for the rest of us and help everybody to grow and to live great lives and be good human beings and promote good. And I think that's what this world should be based on, but it's simply just not that. But I'm absolutely happy that you have this voice, and I love that you allow it so that other people can have a voice and discuss these things. Because for the last 10 years, this seems like no matter where I go, what I do, I don't drink anymore, but I used to go to bars. People would bring these topics up, the conspiracy things, or they would say things in relation to it. And I could tell, maybe they're not as informed as I am, but it's definitely on everybody's tongue. It's definitely on everybody's mind, especially with the Epstein stuff. And that's the thing is, like, I've seen the level of hatred in which people throw at journalists, and especially you. I've seen the level of hatred in which, they throw at each other. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why can't this all just be better? But the truth is out there, and the misinformation that's going on is it's swaying people like us. I find myself as like a highly intellectual person at times. I'm not as smart as I think I am, but I'm able to go find information for myself and ascertain the truth and see how this can apply to all the things that I do in life, because it actually affects the things that I'm a part of. And that's the thing is, people, I think, are seeing that, all these things affect what they're a part of. And the arguments and the name calling and the negativity, there's just no room for that. I think that's what we're trying to get rid of, especially with the things like, that are hidden from us, and how much has been hidden from us over all this time. They're trying to memory hole us right now. Like the Doge kids, they tried to edit the Constitution on the U.S. government website, modifying it and taking the things out that they want. And they were just doing this just to show that they can. It's like they don't give a shit. But that's the thing is, how much information is suppressed, how much is how much actually happened that we wouldn't even begin to crack the iceberg on is really what I want to know. And things like aliens, all this stuff. I want to see an alien. I want to see a spaceship and shit. I want to see these. I don't want to be probed or anything. I don't want to be abducted, but I want to see these things because it gives me a glance at things that are more interesting than what this world is currently. Like if I go look at the news right now, and I have to actually stay away from the news because I got to a point where I was so connected and so in the know with everything that nothing is surprising. And it's like I can actually see that the sensationalist stuff behind a lot of things that people start biting onto and stuff later on when they get this information. And they don't know all the level of bullshit that I was able to see. And it's like to me, it's like the world is one big lie. It's everything is lying to us. Everybody's lying to us. The truth is out there, and if the truth sometimes is like on small little websites out there back in the day, and it's like, no way, this is the truth now. Look, it's on some no-name website. It's like, look, it looks like it's been made in 2001, and people think like this. People are stuck in these walled gardens. AI is writing articles. They're making videos. I can't determine what the truth is, but Sean, for aspiring independent journalists out there, what guidance would you offer, and how important is it to protect your privacy when digging into sensitive topics like these?
First thing, for independent websites out there, the ones that have survived the shadow banning and the censorship, especially between 2016 and 2020 or 2022, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, just keep persevering, be adaptable. Don't give up, even if it means drastically changing the way you do things. Keep going, do everything you can to survive, because if you give up, you give in, they've won. And my practical advice would be, take the power as much as you can away from the bad guys. So what I learned is I didn't want to give anyone a heads up about what I was doing when I was researching these things, researching the articles I write or the shows that I put on. So I was looking for a VPN, and I realized a lot of the VPNs couldn't completely trust them. So I'm really glad that I found vp.net, because the way vp.net is set up, and I'm sure you guys can talk about this a bit more in technical detail, is that there's no logs. Nobody can seize my data. Even if any government comes knocking to say what's Sean been up to, if they ever knew that I was using it in the first place, there's nothing to give them. And so I feel very secure using vp.net to do all my research and look up all the interesting, dangerous topics that I'm looking up for my reports. And so my suggestion would be, get on that, because what that does is that takes power away from the bad guys, because they are watching you. They are trying to find anything they can on you. And if you're raising your head above the parapet, they're going to be coming after you, and they'll want to monitor what you're doing. So don't give them any tools. Don't give them any anything you can do to take your power back. You should do that. And so one of the first things I would do is get on a good VPN, and I think vp.net is the best one out there. It's the only one out there, as far as I'm aware, that completely has no logs and has no way of tracking or tracing anything that you're doing. So I think that's really important. Stay anonymous. And another practical bit of advice is when you're researching stuff, obviously don't be logged into anything. Don't be logged into your email account, your Google account when you're using a browser. Use incognito mode if you can, and if not, just make sure you're not logged into anything. That's really obvious, but it's an easy thing to forget sometimes when you're logged in your browser. And just keep going, keep doing what you're doing.
I agree, and that's something that we've been fighting for the last 10 years. And with vp.net, it's just it's one tool that we in the arsenal that we're looking to offer the world, and it's the only zero trust VPN out there. This comes from one of the pioneers of the VPN industries themselves, and we have another owner that they run Bitcoin.com. So it's a life that we live with this stuff. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a tech enthusiast, and I focus on information security, business things, and for me, I would say that would be the greatest advice and stuff. Is I myself like to write. I do creative writing, but I write that because it's, it helps me to be me. But there's definitely people out there that have the truth. They go find it themselves and they share it with people. And I think that is the biggest thing for humanity right now, is the ability to share these things with people. It's important to me. I know it's important to all of you. Let's go ahead and open this up for open discussion. Like, let's all just chill out a little bit. I'm actually having a great time with all this. This week has been hard for me, especially with the Epstein stuff, especially with the Iran things, especially with just the way things are. It does mess with people. It messes with me, especially since I have to be a little more aware than most. How's your guys' week going?
Not bad. Been busy getting this whole female thing together, which I'm super excited about. But it's been a very, very exciting week. We've a lot of hard work, but it's coming together, and that makes me excited. I'm really, really, really excited to be back on Hide and Speak. It was very sad having to miss it last week. We had like too much stuff going on, which again, like we said, like this isn't our job. If it's our job, we would have been here. But like this is our hobby, and our job kind of takes precedence. So we had stuff to do, and that's why we weren't able to be here last week. But really excited to be back. This is fun, and I'm super excited that Sean was here today. This has been amazing, talking about some really insane but interesting topics that really more people need to know about. And the more they try to make us not know about it, just tells you the more we really need to keep telling people about it.
It's a clown show. It's blatant at this point. They're trying to make us not pay attention to things. Like, are you kidding?
I know, it's crazy. I've had a crazy 2 weeks actually, with all the Iran war and all the Epstein. The Epstein stuff has just been continuous. There's people are constantly finding things in those Epstein emails, and so me and my small team have just been trawling through the emails every day practically, and following what's happening in Iran, and just reporting on it every single day. It's been the weeks have just kind of flown by recently. It's busy. I think this is the quietest couple of days, apart from this that I'm doing right now. It's a quiet couple of days because I think everybody is going home for Easter to be with their families and their friends and stuff. So things have quietened down a bit, but I'm sure it'll pick up again next week.
Oh yeah, the bullshit will always persist, I think, and excuse my language on that one. There will be no shortage of that anytime soon. We have a question here from Anonymous Ninja. I don't understand it. Is Michelle Michael?
Well,
I think they're talking about Obama.
Yeah. Big Mike, as she's also known. Big Mike. There's a lot of interesting information out there. One of the most compelling things is she was registered to vote as a man for quite a number of years, until the point Barack Obama was running to become president. That then got corrected to female on the voter registration forms. That can be looked up. So that I've covered this myself and asked the question: is Michelle who she seems to be, or who he seems to be? It's an open question as far as I'm concerned, but there's a lot of compelling evidence to suggest that Michelle may well be Michael.
And it very well could be like that. I'm not saying it do be like that. It could be like that. When they released Obama's birth certificate, like somebody like loaded it up in a like photo or whatever that program was, and they showed that it was like photocopied over an actual different birth certificate. And it's like, wait a second, if this is his actual birth certificate, why is that bullshit happening? And I'm like, this actually, you went and downloaded it from the .gov website. So this is as official as that shit can get. So as far as like, with the dude man or the dude woman thing going on, there's like that it's happening in the world. You know what I'm saying? So nothing would surprise me. Honestly, Godzilla stomping out of Tokyo Bay at this fucking point wouldn't surprise me. I'd slightly look up at that.
Bridget Macron as well. Bridget Macron.
Yeah.
Maybe a similar situation to Michelle.
Yeah. That was even creepier. Like the age difference made it like really creepy. Wasn't she like involved with him when he was like a kid, basically?
He was a kid. Yeah, she was a teacher. Yeah. He was a kid at the school, and she had a relationship. He, I don't know. She had a relationship with him, groomed him basically, and then married him. They've
I never knew any of this.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Even if put the rumors of her being a man aside, let's say she's a woman, she's a pedophile, and it's out in the open. It's just established facts, and it seems like nobody in the mainstream, at least, is that outraged by that.
Like, I don't give a shit if she's a guy or a girl. Like, that's fine. Like, you definitely have a problem with you being a pedophile and fucking grooming a child. And like
that I care about.
When I was looking into it, it was also like it didn't just seem like just a pedophile thing. It really seemed like somebody behind her grooming him to be a certain leader, to do a certain job. You know what I mean? Which is like whole worlds of evil on top of creepy. You know what I mean? Like it's wrong on many different levels.
Well, she's really, really deeply connected to the Rothschild family, and Emmanuel Macron was also connected to the Rothschild banking
well, there you
industry. And then the story is that her role was to groom Emmanuel, to put him in position of power as the leader of France, so that he could be totally and utterly controlled. You know, when you're abused at a young age and groomed and stuff like that, you know, you're totally controlled. And she's one of his handlers.
Yeah, I've seen her punch him in the face off an elevator and shit. I'm like, and it's like, I looked into it, and yeah, she was his teacher. That's insane to me. So this Epstein stuff and everything involved with this. It's a global thing. Honestly, it all comes around. My take and my look into this, which I can't be swayed from, is it comes down to witchcraft. That's what they're into. I can't prove it. I don't know for sure. But it does do that. It's like that. You know, I see this with New Age spirituality and stuff. People are praying to fucking crystals. You know what I'm saying? That's like.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, Susie.
What's up with the thing about how? So I had this is a genuine question that really confuses me. Why did Iran, and did this actually happen? Why did Iran burn an effigy of Baal? Baal, you know, Baal. They burned. I just went out. They burned them, and then right after we attacked Iran.
Yeah, it's almost as if they burned that, and like the United States showed up, like guns in hand, like yeehaw, like Americans, like we normally do. But they burned a big old statue of Baal, and like it's obvious that Epstein was into this witchcraft shit. There's like demon heads hanging on his fucking wall in the house. Like I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, I think that was their acknowledgement that they know Epstein, Israel, the pedophile elite. They're all Satanists. They're all Satan worshippers performing these occult rituals, and it's becoming out in the open now. It's becoming really widespread public knowledge, and I think that was a symbolic reference to that. And obviously, that really upset a lot of people.
What's so stupid too is if you talk about any of that stuff, people like roll their eyes, like, oh, okay, here we go. It's some crazy conspiracy theory, and like, because you know, and maybe they're an atheist, maybe they don't believe in Satan, maybe they don't believe in witchcraft, they don't believe in any of that. But that doesn't matter. Like, you're missing the point. It's not about whether you do. It's about whether they believe it, and they do. So, like, if they believe that they should do really evil shit to you in order to get some evil powers, all that matters is they're going to do some evil shit to you. So does it matter if it's true? Does it matter if witchcraft is? No, they're still going to do evil shit to you. That's the part to focus on. But people, as soon as you say, oh, they're Satanists or they're cannibal, people are like, oh, this is some crazy shit. I'm not going to listen anymore. And it's like, no, man, you're not getting it.
Well, I think it's crazy that people don't believe that. I think it's crazy that people think that's crazy. There's so much evidence. There's so much proof. If you look at the royal families in Europe, if you go back generations after generations, go all the way back, it's documented. It's not up for question. It's historical facts. They drank blood. They ate. They were cannibals. They performed blood rituals. It was part of their ancient rites and customs. Go all the way back to the Babylonians. They did the same. It's history. It's there. It's in the textbooks. It's not controversial in terms of whether it's factual or not. It's a fact. I think that what I find unbelievable is that people think that's not happening now. They stopped. That's just complete naivety.
I think what happened is that after the Industrial Revolution, people got quote unquote classy, and so now there's this different classiness that people aspire to, and like, oh, that's the normal, that's the American life and the American way. Meanwhile, before all that shit, they were doing this stuff like, in the temples and in their houses. Like, I mean, the Ku Klux Klan and shit used to do these things. These things still exist. They're still like high witches, like the Freemasonry and stuff. The first thing they do, like when you're being initiated, is they scratch your arms and make blood gurgling sounds to imitate, that your death and stuff. And it's like, for one, all these people are fucking weirdos. Like, are you all fucking insane? And the answer to that is yes, you are fucking insane. Okay, what do I do with this now that I know that you're all fucking insane? There is nothing that I can do. But if they're practicing witchcraft, and they are, and cannibalism, they are. What can I do about this? Because that's like makes me kind of want to do some vigilante shit. You know what I'm saying? If they can be witches, that means I can be a warlock to go wipe out some witches. But I don't have the time for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have like other stuff that I have to do that's important to me. But all this stuff is like, it keeps surfacing. Is the thing?
It does.
Surfacing.
I think information actually is your biggest weapon. Just being aware of this stuff and being free to talk about it, and letting other people know about that. I think that's your biggest weapon, because the elites, they only get their power through the consent and the compliance of the masses. They haven't really got that much power over us, apart from our consent and our willingness to let them do these things. So I think the more people are aware and educated about what's really going on in the world, the more the power is taken away from the elite. And just like in The Wizard of Oz, when you pull back the curtain and you see it's just a man behind pulling some levers, that's basically what they are. If there's enough of us, we can just pull back the curtain and see them for what they are, and they have no power.
Yeah, makes sense.
Not only do they not have any power, they're dumb. Like, it's, oh my God, like, they're dumb. Especially like, when I see these things like Bezos, he bought the Washington Post and all this stuff. If you actually see these people talk, you're just like, seriously?
A lot of like the old power is like, generations and generations of inbreeding going back like hundreds of, actually thousands of years in some cases. Like, like the Habsburg John knows, like some of these people, their whole bloodline now are like literally deformed freaks because they were so afraid to lose power that they've just been inbreeding for centuries.
Yeah, that's actually fucking disgusting, and it do be like that. You know what I'm saying? With in the UK, like, I think you're in the UK, right, Sean? Over there is way more fucking wild than it is here in the United States. Like, you guys got some crazy shit going on over there.
Yeah, with the UK, it is absolutely crazy. We have hate speech laws, lots of restrictions. Digital ID is being rolled out. They're trying to really severely lock down and restrict the internet.
They really are. I've seen police videos where they show up at the door and they're like, "Hey, did you say this on Facebook?" And then they get arrested for it and stuff. Like, that's like, I would slam the door in their face. Like, what the hell? But they can arrest you for this shit.
They're calling that, I think they're calling that some ridiculous Orwellian name, like a non-crime hate speech incident or something ridiculous, where it's not a crime, but they can require you to go down to the police station and answer their questions about it. And incriminate yourself, so they can arrest you then.
They can detain you and mess your life up, basically. Yeah.
It's very Orwellian, yeah. But the thing is about the UK is that for all of the restrictive laws and surveillance that we have over here, the people here, they're the complete opposite. There's a fighting spirit in a lot of British people. There's a rebellion that people have inside of them. And I think it's the same across Europe. In France, certainly, if you push the people enough, you don't want to see a pissed off British population or a pissed off French population. So I think that's what gives me hope.
Yeah, the French
protests in Europe. The protests I see in Europe are like massive, and like we have those in America too.
It's
but
wonderful.
It costs Soros a lot of money to make it happen. In UK, they just do that for free.
In American
Oh, yeah.
news, we don't see these riots. Like this information doesn't show up in our news feeds and stuff. Like I'm sure it does because your news feeds, your side of the algorithm. But we don't see these things. We actually have to go look at these things. Like they're even protesting No King's Trump. Like like they're doing that
The
over
country
there in
with a
Europe.
literal king. Like you literally
Yeah.
have a king.
We literally have a king.
And you're protesting someone who isn't a king with a no king. I don't even understand.
I think from what I've seen, like aside from what's being broadcast on the news and stuff, the average person on the street that you meet in a bar or when you're out and about, they're not buying into the propaganda anymore, and they're fed up. They know that COVID was a lie. They know that the elites, our own king and our leaders are all involved in the Epstein files, and they're drinking blood and they're up to all sorts of evil things. I think the average person on the street doesn't think these are crazy conspiracy theories anymore, from what I've seen. So even though we live in a very totalitarian, authoritarian kind of police state, I think from what the vibe I get from being here and living here and being with these people is that the state is losing its grip on its power. It has all these laws, but I think the people are starting to rise up and reject it. And I think the government and the people in charge are legitimately scared of the people, which is a good thing.
I agree. They should, yeah, they absolutely should be. And I don't think they ever had power. It's just that people agreed to like, oh, this is how things are now. We're going to do this because, you know, like we're contributing to society. And then the people in power are the ones like, yeah, they're benefiting. But now that people are waking up, they're like, wait a second, like, hold on, you know, like I have other thoughts and takes on this. And I think that's a great thing that people can think for themselves. They may not be able to read and write, but they'll probably be able to go guillotine people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think people have an instinct. They know when something, they like you said, they might not be completely educated about all the facts, but if they know there's an injustice or there's a power imbalance, and they want to right that wrong. And yeah, when people are pissed off enough, and the people in charge have zero power. They have no power whatsoever.
Yeah. I think it's gotten really blatant, and it's so blatant that people are realizing that the French did their guillotine thing for less.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't want to be that way. I don't advocate violence, and I would never want to see someone killed. But I'm saying that this happened for less reasons in France back then, and they are so blatant right now that it'll come to a head.
I hope that is peaceful and stuff. I don't want that French Revolution stuff to happen. But at the same time, too, people need to quit being pussies and have a spine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on,
and have a voice. Use your voice.
All right,
Absolutely.
I know we're all strapped for time here, and we can lead down these discussions for hours and hours, as it's happened before, and it happens every day of our lives, pretty much. We have one more question here. Just a quick glance for who took out Charlie? Who killed Charlie Kirk?
Israel.
That's a great question.
I agree.
So?
Israel, 100%. Charlie was against the Iran war. And he didn't want America going to war with Iran.
That's true.
And he was starting before he was taken out. He was starting to talk and about Israel and criticize them. And he discovered just how much influence and control they have over American politics and over his own organization, Turning Point USA. And there's no doubt in my mind that it was Israel. There's so much evidence. Again, that's another podcast to discuss the Charlie Kirk assassination. Israel took him out. Yeah.
I really don't know enough about the Charlie Kirk situation, but the more I hear, the more I get disturbed. And the fact is, yes, I do realize that, I didn't like what he was saying. I didn't like a lot of the things he said. Okay. But I don't agree with, shooting somebody in front of everybody just to make a fucking statement to say, look, we can get you.
I mean, that's evil, right? But hey,
it's
Erica
so terrible.
Kirk, his wife's making off like a bandit, though. She's making cheddar right now. She's making money. So you know what? I like seeing all this stuff. It just, I don't know. I don't know how much more of this clown show I can take. But does anybody else have any other topics or any questions or anything before we call tonight?
Just one thing. Okay. Couple things about Epstein and his little autopsy. Broken bones in his neck, and then can I ask a question? If have any of you guys read about the whole thing about him having certain body parts that were removed, but then in the autopsy they were present?
Yeah.
So
Yep. His
can
prostate
someone
removed. Yeah.
expand upon this that really knows more about it than I've read? Because I tend to read things and not know if I'm reading things that are fake, and I always have to ask other people, what do you think about this?
Yeah, well, I think Shane just said. I think you just mentioned his prostate being removed and from the information I've got, I found some juicy information out about Hillary Clinton's brother, Tony Rodham, died. I think he died a few weeks before Epstein supposedly killed himself.
Really?
And nothing was. I don't think much. There wasn't much in the media about it. There was no. Nothing much was made about Tony's funeral, and there was some interesting information I found about potentially them using Tony's body to substitute for Epstein while Epstein made his escape back to Israel.
That's
because
terrifying.
I think whatever the method is that Epstein didn't kill himself. He didn't die. He's still alive. He was exfiltrated to Israel.
Wow.
And the reason for that is he had so much dirt on the elite and he had so much information, so much compromise that him being dead just neutralizes all of that. Suddenly, if Epstein is dead, that compromise
case closed.
is no good for Israel. They can't really use it, and so they needed him alive, and he served his purpose. They killed him off, and he's over in Israel now, working with his Mossad handlers. But yeah, there's a whole rabbit hole to go down there with Hillary Clinton's brother, Tony.
At the gist of it, it's just so they can get power over people and fucking run the show and stuff with the evil methods and stuff. Like, hey, do this or I'm going to release this, and or kill your family. It's nuts. And these are things I have to be aware of. Like, we run a privacy company and stuff, right? You think like they're like we're not on the radar of some of these things and stuff. It's one of those things that we believe in privacy and anonymity and being able to have transmit encrypted data across the internet, and that's the freedom of information and stuff. But to talk about these things and Mossad and Israel, I have customers that come to us and are like, "Hey, are you affiliated with like Israel?" And I have to explain, like, no, we're all American. Yeehaw! The only thing missing from this company is riding in on a horse and a cowboy hat. Okay, like we are all American. But this is a common thing that they come to us with. So it's something that I have to be aware of, and I have to have these discussions because I'm like, why the fuck are they asking me about Israel? And I go, look, oh, okay, they're terrorists and shit over there. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I've been called a Mossad, what is it, asset? Chris, probably too. I think I've seen.
Yeah, they call us Mossad. They call us Mossad and accuse us of being like involved with Mossad and stuff. I don't know any Arabic people and stuff, so.
If you really knew me, you'd know how much that's bullshit.
Yeah. I was saying, part of the problem is like there are a lot of VPN companies that have been bought up by Israeli companies, and specifically Israeli companies that have like their executives that are right out of the IDF and the Unit 8200, which is their like cyber warfare unit. So it's like these are literal spies that work for the government of Israel that retired from that and then immediately like went into protecting people's privacy. So it's just super suspicious. And then they bought up a bunch of companies. So you have all of these major VPNs, all for some reason, all of it's getting consolidated to one single country they all seem to have connections to their spies. So it's like that's a pretty suspicious thing. I think people are right to be wary of that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's all in one spot and it just happens to be Israel, and Israel's on the chopping block, and then all this bullshit going on in the world, seems kind of suspicious. I can't do advanced math and stuff, but I can add this shit together. All right, everybody.
Ridiculous.
I think we've had a wonderful show here, and Sean, thank you so much for showing up on our show and
Cheers. Thank you.
It's so great to be able to have these discussions, because these are the things that are less talked about, and I can't just go out into the real world. I might as well be shouting out to the clouds and stuff, with people, talking to people. So I want to say thank you, everybody. If there's nothing else left to say, the last thing to say is onward.
We build a safe place where the speech is always free, where cypherpunks go to just hide and speak. Hide and speak, we stay in the shadows and make some noise. Hide and speak, digital freedom, yeah, that is our choice. Hide and speak, privacy doesn't mean not having a voice. Hide and speak, what you want to share is only your choice. Hide and speak.
The early internet was the wild, wild west. Strange. Free. We explored, we broke things. And yes, we failed. No rules. And that was beautiful. But times have changed. We hesitate. We censor ourselves because we know they're watching. Surveillance kills curiosity, turning the internet from a frontier of hope into a cage of silence. And your VPN? It's based on trust. For let's be real, nobody has ever lied to me, said nobody ever. Yet true privacy is still within reach. vp.net doesn't rely on trust, it runs on real-time proof. Because privacy is about becoming your truest self when no one's watching. So you can be the best you when they are. Otherwise be an NPC, a digital product, and lose. vp.net, don't trust, verify.